Hello Miners fans, and welcome to Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska, a place the Mat-Su Miners might not call home literally, but you wouldn't know it based on the two performances they put on so far this season within these grounds. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows, here to bring you hopefully a thrilling third installment in a series that already includes wins by scores of 8-1 and a couple days ago 12-0 against the Chinooks within this ballpark.
Yeah, it's been a sensational time for Mat-Su every time they've come down to Chugiak, and the dominance as of late has been superb for Mat-Su, and I can't wait to see if they can continue that into tonight's game.
Well, we mentioned the 12-0 final, but last night there was a final score with the Miners that looked startlingly similar, a 10-0 run rule win over the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, which was dramatic from start to finish, and emphasis on the latter. In case you forgot or want to relive it, here's some highlights. So sorry to cut that short, everyone, but it's time for Mat-Su Miners baseball here at Herman Brothers Field. The Mat-Su Miners returning after an outing to Chugiak that went about as well as it possibly could have. A 12-0 win that they're going to try and follow up today with the Glacier Pilots, the visitors. 1-1. Into right center field, left center field, pardon me, and that's down for a base hit. Christian Perez rounding third. He's being waved home, and he'll get there. The Miners do indeed strike. Chase Wilcox thought about going for second after that throw missed the cutoff man, but ultimately decided not to. And now it's Wilcox, Nick Bisaccia has the key RBI with 2 away. The Miners take the lead.
So now Chase Wilcox in an even better position as the count is 1-0. Infield coming in. This is a ground ball that gets through the right field side, and Mat-Su is going to score a run and make it 2. Here comes Durand. It's going to be a 2-run double for Chase Wilcox, and Mat-Su has a 3-0 lead. Fire up the oven. Come on, Drake. I know you want to. Instead, it's going to be a line shot to third and a slip and a fall by the third baseman Knight. A run's going to score. It's not a home run, but it does score a run. Wilcox comes home on a wild miscue by the Pilots.
The strictly technical sense of the word.
Almost had another one right there, and that is low, and it's going to get away from the catcher, Chadwick. A run is going to score for Mat-Su on a wild pitch by Cal Scolari, and the lead is now 5-0 Miners. They are continuing to just impose their will thanks to Pilots' mistakes. Next at bat as to him potentially getting on base. Bernardina trying to stop that. 2-2 count. Here comes the fastball, and it's a swing and a miss. Rocco Bernardina now with 9 strikeouts on the game. He is 1 away from double digits, and we're still in the 6th inning. 1-2 here. Yeah, he talked about the struggles they had in Kenai and what they've done to overcome those and what it was going to take to get out on the other side as a better team, and I think that they found that here. And there's another strikeout. Double digits for Rocco Bernardina to end the top half of the 6th inning. He is an absolute unit. 216 batting average, that is number 2 in the Alaska Baseball League, and unsurprisingly the best team ERA in the ABL, and the most strikeouts in the Alaska Baseball League. They are becoming one of the most well-rounded teams. High fly ball to center field. This one back towards the wall. Sanders is there, and he makes the catch at the deepest part of center field. Tagging for Mat-Su is Richard. He comes home and scores, and that's going to be a sacrifice fly for Kyle McCausland. The lead is 7-0 Mat-Su.
Darker throughout the duration of this game, but payoff pitch is right down the middle. Nolan Murphy's got a K. A quick 2 outs for the hometown kid, and the crowd is loving it. This team has had. Kyle McCausland is going to bat, and he's going to crank one out to left field. Going back, turning around, and over the fence. Kyle McCausland has done it. He waited until the very end, but he adds another extra base hit, and this is a 3-run jack that's going to win the game. 10 runs, the run rule in effect. And how's that? A walk-off 10-0 win, and the happiest we've seen the Miners all season. Well, Dylan, it seems like it just keeps on getting better from game to game. They had some tough times down in Kenai in the week that followed, but over the last couple games, they have just been absolutely dominant, and we just can't wait to see what they'll do next.
Absolutely. I feel like I need to put on these sunglasses because the future is bright right now for the Mat-Su Miners. All they've been able to accomplish, it's been incredibly impressive. The 2 consecutive run rule victories, nearly unprecedented as far as this season is concerned. Great stuff for Mat-Su, and now we'll see if they can continue that into tonight's game.
Well, the hitters have been raking lately, and we'll get started with our lineups tonight. We don't have the Chugiak lineup right now, but in case we get it between the time of filming this and the time this show goes live, you see it on screen right now. If not, all you see is the Miners. And since we have the Miners right now, Dylan, what do they look like?
Leading off will be Drake Kerr in center field. Don Patrizi takes over second base. Kyle McCausland in left field after his dramatic walk-off homer last night. Christian Perez at first, and Ryan Cochran makes his Mat-Su Miner debut at shortstop. We'll have more on him later. Brandon Durand, the DH, Chase Wilcox at third base, Logan Vaughn, the catcher, Riker Scow in right field, and Hayden Hattenbach is going to be on the mound for Mat-Su tonight.
Kyle McCausland walked by us as we were filming this and gave us a thumbs up when you mentioned that. It was obviously, I think, the high point of the season for the Miners, and it came right after we interviewed him for Player of the Week, which is something I 100% take credit for. If you want to see that interview, it'll be on our YouTube channel. Well, you mentioned a new face for the Mat-Su Miners, a new infielder that is joining the team. Joined the team actually yesterday, but is making his debut today. Tell us 411 on Ryan Cochran.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Ryan Cochran. He is a hawk of a feather. He joins the Lehigh teammate Don Patrizi in today's middle infield. He hit .305 this past year with 13 ribbies, 17 walks forced, and a .919 fielding percentage in 29 games as a Mountain Hawk as a junior. So he's going to be a key piece for Mat-Su, not just today, but throughout the rest of the season as they look to make that infield defense even stronger.
It's been a point of emphasis for them, and you saw the fielding percentage for him, definitely a big add to this team. Well, we're excited to see him and all the Miners bats get going here, and they will in just a couple of minutes. On the other side of this break, we'll have Chugiak-Eagle River versus Mat-Su here at Lee Jordan Field, so stay with us.
Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska, where this evening we have more primetime baseball on YouTube as your Mat-Su Miners bring their dominant 3-game winning streak to lead Jordan Field against the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you, and boy, have the Mat-Su Miners been on a rampage lately. They have been electric as Thomas Edison's lab in these last couple of games.
10-0 last night against the Pilots, 12-0 against these very same Chinooks in this very same ballpark the day before. That's 22-0 over their last 2 games, and we can't say 18 innings because both of those games ended before the 9-inning mark due to the run rule in the ABL. A 10-run lead after 7 innings ends the game, and the Miners account for half of the total games in the ABL this season that have ended that way, both of them in the last 2 games. Dominance at its finest.
Well, the Miners, like you mentioned, coming off 2 consecutive run rule shutout wins and back-to-back shutouts for the first time this season. They have also won 3 consecutive games for the first time this season as well. So Mat-Su currently, as far as 2024 is concerned, with unprecedented momentum. And Drake Kerr will start us off tonight trying to keep that momentum going against the Chinooks, a team that Mat-Su run ruled 12-0 just back on Sunday.
And he'll be facing off against Nolan Livesey, one of the better arms in this rotation, one of the better rotations in the ABL, at least early on in this season. Has a 4.50 ERA across 16 innings pitched, has allowed 8 earned runs and struck out 11 over that span, has not faced off against the Miners yet.
He has not. A southpaw will fire in this pitch, run underway, and that's going to be a ball. Count goes to 1-0, and of course Kerr, the best bunter, not just on the Miners, but maybe in the entire Alaska Baseball League. Also the league leader in stolen bases, and Mat-Su's team leader in hits. Lets this go by, and the count goes to 2-0.
And I know you might be wondering out there, how exactly do you quantify the best bunter? Trust us, he's the best bunter.
He's the best bunter. There is no question about it. If you've ever seen Drake Kerr bunt, it is a sight to behold. This ball's popped up and fouled out towards the left field area, and the count goes to 2-1.
Kerr on the season, a .281 hitter with a .313 slugging percentage, 9 runs batted in, 18 hits in his 64 at-bats.
Here's a bunt laid down. He's going to try to leg it out and get to first, and he will. Drake Kerr showing that bunting ability right off the bat, no pun intended, and he has a leadoff single.
That is, I almost can't believe it, how spot on we were. I laugh every time under my breath when you lead off the description of Drake Kerr by saying he's the best bunter in the ABL, as if that is his main redeeming quality, but it really is. Like, there's being good at bunting, and then there's being able to just manufacture a hit like that.
And he's going on to second. The throw from Rickabaugh will not even happen. He kept it in his hand, and Drake Kerr steals second base. He has already made a huge impact here in the top of the first.
He got a little lucky on that because there was a bit of a defensive miscommunication between Jaffe at first and Livesey, the pitcher. Jaffe abandoned his post and I think assumed the pitcher would cover for him, and no one did, so Kerr just got in for free.
This ball popped up by Patrizzi. It's going to be fouled, and the count will even at 1-1. And Don Patrizzi, the ABL leader in runs batted in, he has a total of 13 this year for Mat-Su, not to mention 11 walks for us, which is the second most on the team. Count is 1-1 here. Nolan Livesey taking on the Miners for the first time this season. This pitch is not going to be in the zone, just inside for ball 2.
I also want to point out that as soon as Kerr got to first, it was almost a formality. You knew, everyone in the park knew he was going to be running on the first pitch, and yet nothing that Rickabaugh, the catcher for the Chinooks, could do about it. And he shouldn't feel too bad because Kerr has made a lot of catchers look foolish this season.
That he has, and that is going to get away from the catcher, and on to third is Drake Kerr as it just went off. It looked like one of the pads of the catcher Rickabaugh, and now Kerr in the hot corner.
Oh, I just gave him credit, but that one was a miss on his part. It was a little high pitch in a weird zone, clearly missed his spot, but Drake Kerr will take advantage, and all of a sudden, before even 10 pitches have been thrown in this game, there's a runner 90 feet away. That's how efficient the Miners have been.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. 3-1 count. Fly ball out to center field. This one is going to stay in the yard. Jaden Hill has to go all the way back, but tagging for Mat-Su and scoring will be Drake Kerr, and that is going to be a sacrifice fly. Mat-Su on the board from Don Patrizzi's bat.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I think if any sequence this entire season sums up the value of Drake Kerr to this team, it's that one. He bunts his way onto first base, steals second, takes advantage of a miscue by the catcher to get to third, and all of a sudden, what was just a bloop, fluke base hit, as it would be off the bat of many players, turns into a run when Don Patrizi is able to hit a ball past the infield. That is just creating a run out of thin air, and no one is better at that than Drake Kerr.
So now up for Matsu will be Kyle McCausland as he watches that pitch go by for a 1-0 count. This will even it at 1-1. A nice inside pitch that time by Livesey.
And little different approach to batting so far this season between Kerr and McCausland. Kerr much more tactical, trying to find the inconsistencies in the defense, lay down a bunt. McCausland's strategy has just been to smack the ball as hard as he can, and that's been working out pretty well for him. Of course, he had that 3-run walk-off home run that put the Miners into a run rule win last night.
Defending player of the week, he's going to pop this one up, and it's going to be fouled once again over the Miners' dugout. Count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. The best extra base hitter on this Miners roster. He has a total of 5 doubles this year, and of course the home run last night. 2-2 count, pitch from Livesey, and a swing and a miss by McCausland. That's going to be a strikeout, and the first of the day for Chugiak.
That's the downside of his approach, trying to get extra base hits, is oftentimes you wind up swinging more, and that leads to more swings and misses, more strikeouts. It's the 3 true outcomes algorithm that someone much smarter than me could explain.
As Christian Perez will now come to the plate, the cleanup man in the order. Count goes to 1-0. He is now the man with the best batting average and best on-base percentage on the Miners. As the count is 1-0. Here is a line ball that gets into left field for a base hit. Christian Perez keeps the hot streak going. He's got a single with 2 outs.
That's already the second hit they've got off of Livesey, and like you mentioned, Christian Perez, a .294 batter trying to get back north of 300 where he was for the first part of the season. He's got a pair of doubles, 7 runs batted in. One of the most dependable players to create offense, and now here is the new face.
Ryan Cochran with his first plate appearance of the season for the Miners, and that's going to be a strike. Count goes to 0-1. So much excitement to see what he can do for Matsu this season. Coming in out of Lehigh, Newton Square, Pennsylvania is his hometown. Here's a fly ball out to right, and in his very first at-bat of the season, Ryan Cochran is going to get a single.
Batting 1,000, we love to see it. Cochran jumps into the lead of batting average for the club, usurping Christian Perez.
Well, it's great to see him come in and make an immediate impact, and you were right, he absolutely delivered that shot into right, and Medeiros with no time to do anything with it. Ryan Cochran making an immediate impact, and Matsu now with runners on first and second as Brandon Durand makes his way to the plate. Number 6 man in the order watches this one go by for ball number 1.
The generator has a chance to spark this offense even more. 2 outs, but a couple of men on base, and he's been absolutely raking lately too.
Yeah, he's delivered in this spot time and time again this season. He did it against the Pilots back on Friday, and here's a high fly ball deep to left field. This one back towards the wall. It is out of here. Brandon Durand with a 3-run home run in the top half of the first inning, and Matsu is feeling it. That one flew out all the way to Mount Denali.
So the first games that the Miners played this season, the first 17 games and 6 innings, they combined for 1 home run. They've now hit 2 of them in the last 2 innings of action. Both of them were 3-run bombs, and just like that, a 4-0 lead. We talked about him. We didn't even really get to explain that name, the generator. He is credited by head coach Ty LeBrun as the man who kick-started this offense and got them back to where they were at the start of the season with that RBI single against the Glacier Pilots earlier in this week. But he didn't just get them back to their early season form. They are raking on a level that they have not been all year long. And now Durand joins the club. He finally got one. He was our odds-on favorite to get the first home run for the Miners. Did not get that distinction, but he'll be happy to join the club. And that's 3 on the season for Matsu.
A 4-0 Matsu lead, and Brandon Durand with an incredible shot. That was almost to dead center field. Absolutely blistered that baseball. And the dimensions of this park are no joke, folks. It is 400 to dead center, and he sent that one all the way into the shrubbery over there.
Yeah, that wasn't just a ball that barely cleared the fence, too. That was one of those where you knew, based on the outfielder's reaction, that was going to be way out of here. That got into the second row of shrubbery.
As Chase Wilcox tries to pull his best Drake Kerr impression, laying down a bunt. Count goes to 0-1. And, of course, Chase Wilcox has been an incredible player as of late for Mat-Su. Much like many other players on this team, his bat has been heating up in a huge way lately.
And now 4 hits already allowed by Nolan Livesey. Still can get out of the inning with the 3rd out, but the damage is already done.
This is fouled by Wilcox. Just caught enough of it. Count goes to 0-2. Wilcox with a .238 average on the season. And a total of 10 runs batted in, which is tied for 2nd in the ABL. He also has 10 hits for the Miners, one of 6 Miners hitters who have 10-plus hits this season. Pitch on the way, and that is going to be low and inside. Count goes to 1-2.
He's also the only other member of the double-digit RBI club that Dom Patrizzi is the leader of. There are a couple getting close to it, and I think actually Brandon Durand now just 1 away from joining that with the 3 he just batted in. He's up to 9, but McCausland has 9, Kerr has 9, Christian Perez has 7, so quickly a lot more batters as the runs keep pouring in. So do the RBIs.
1-2 count now for Wilcox, and this pitch is high for ball number 2. Mat-Su already with a dominant 4-0 start, like you mentioned, partner. Their bats have just been so good as of late, and it feels like we're beating a dead horse whenever we say that, but it bears repeating just how electrifying they've been every time they've stepped up. Wilcox watches this one go by, and that was a good decision for ball 3. So the count will run full for Chase Wilcox. He's got Logan Vaughn currently on deck. Riker Scow, the man in the 9-hole. Mat-Su trying to increase the 4-0 lead. And here's a fly ball out to right field for a base hit. It sits down once again, and Chase Wilcox joins the party. He's got a single. Mat-Su keeps the good times rolling.
That's 4 straight hits allowed by Nolan Livesey. He is, I don't know if he's tipping his pitches or just throwing a lot of pitches in the zone with not a lot of velocity, but whatever the case may be, the Miners have pounced all over him and wasted no time in breaking this game open.
Mat-Su offense in this top of the first. More terrifying than Jason Voorhees as that one gets by. Count goes to 1-0 on Logan Vaughn.
Can't imagine Jason Voorhees would be too great of a baseball player, though.
Probably not
really
the
big
best.
Strike zone, and you wouldn't be able to see that well.
If he could ever make contact with the baseball, I'm sure he'd have enough steam on it to probably send it over the wall.
Yeah, he also wouldn't be able to run too fast.
Yeah, that's true. Although he always seems to catch his victims.
Yeah, he'd be more of a I wonder if he'd be more of a Drake Kerr type, a bunter. Although you need to be able to run
could
for
work.
that.
Fly ball popped up into left field. This one is going to stay in the yard. Grady Groves chases after it and makes the catch. But as the Black Eyed Peas would say, Mat-Su getting it started in here. A 4-0 lead after the first inning with a dominant 3-run home run from Brandon Durand. Mat-Su on top, trying to keep it that way in the bottom half of the first, where you're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. And yes, the Miners up 4-0 after the top half of the first inning, highlighted by a 3-run home run from Brandon Durand. And the new total for Mat-Su over the past, what would you say, that would be 16 innings now. Mat-Su is outscoring opponents by a total of 26-0.
And now on to defend their lead, someone who's been as good as anyone by not allowing runs for the Miners. Hayden Hattenbach has allowed exactly 0 during his time with the Miners. One of the newer additions to the club, although even he's been in Mat-Su for a couple weeks now, has thrown 8 innings, is just allowed a total of 1 hit over those 8 innings and no runs, 3 walks, 11 Ks. He was part of that second win in a row in that doubleheader against the Pilots, which was also the start of the earned run streak that we've alluded to many times over the course of the broadcast. I come into this game with 41 straight innings. I know that number might be changing a bit from game to game because the math has not been great. Those in journalism school not known for their mental math abilities. I'm certainly no exception, but 41 is the number, so if they can pitch a complete game shutout here, it'll be an even 5-0.
Pitch by Hattenbach is in for a strike. Count goes to 0-1, and like you mentioned, partner, he has not allowed an earned run this season for Mat-Su. In fact, he's only given up 1 hit in 8 innings pitched, so a perfect DRA so far. Trying to keep that streak alive, and more importantly, give Mat-Su another opportunity at victory as the count goes to 1-1.
And this lineup, you did see it briefly if you watched the pregame show. We did not have it while we were recording the show, but we got it in between while we were editing it. So Cade Smith is going to lead off. Louis Zalaika, Jordan Jaffe, Jaden Hill, RJ Rickabaugh. As the pitch comes in high, Oliver DeGenhart, David Broughton, Brady Groves, and Orion Medeiros, the 9 batters who will try their luck at breaking the streak.
Counted 3-1 here, and Hattenbach is going to deliver ball 4. Leadoff walk issued to Cade Smith, who's on his way to first base. And the Chinooks with a man aboard here in the bottom of the first.
Not the best start, and the clown horn being sounded by someone in the crowd. Definitely not a morale booster, but Hattenbach, that game against the Pilots, he had a couple walks as well, and he was able to navigate through them, so nothing new for him. And his hat stayed on, which is already better than the start of his last game went.
That is true, as that goes in for a strike on Zalaika. If you didn't catch that game against the Pilots, his hat was coming off every time he pitched at the start of that 7-inning affair. But
So-
it was his incredible pitching that helped Mat-Su to that 1-0 victory.
We're getting hat on Bach instead of hatless Bach.
Yeah, you haven't met Hayden Hat on Bach yet. He's a different beast. As that one is high, it's going to be ball number 1.
This is Louis Zalaika, the second baseman for Chugiak-Eagle River. On the season, 233, 2 runs batted in, just 1 extra base hit.
Pitch on the way from Hattenbach, flied out and fouled. Count will go to 1-2, and Hattenbach has an opportunity at his first strikeout of the game. Zalaika, the sophomore out of San Jose, California, plays for Gavilan College. He had a .515 on-base percentage in conference play this past year. So the
Hasn't
1-2
quite
count.
translated over to the ABL so far, but then again, against the Miners, it's been tough to get on base.
Best pitching team in the ABL right now. Here's a liner into left field for a base hit. And the Chinooks now with 2 aboard. That's going to be a single for Zalaika. Runners on first and second for Chugiak.
Well, I suppose I should keep my mouth shut now because this is not an ideal situation to start out this game for Hayden.
Yeah, this is probably the worst start he's had this season just by the way the Chinooks have been able to get 2 men on base off of him. Of course,
Which, the fact that we can say that,
Right.
just let it be known, is not exactly, we're up against a very strong list of starts.
that one's popped up exactly. That is against some very good competition considering what he's been able to do so far. Count going to 0-1. And with his track record, he has gotten out of situations kind of like this before. So it's definitely something that he can handle. And we'll see if he can do just that in a second against Jordan Jaffe. Count is 0-1. Here's a bunt. This one is going to be in play right to the first baseman. Underhand toss by Perez. And safe at first base is going to be Jordan Jaffe. Mat-Su couldn't beat him out, and all of a sudden the bases are juiced for the Chinooks.
So that was almost the exact same thing that happened on the flip side in the top of the first inning when Drake Kerr laid down his bunt. Christian Perez was at first base originally, but he wasn't sure if Hattenbach was going to be able to get to the ball in time, so he kind of panicked and went for it himself and left first base uncovered. So Hattenbach had to take it unassisted, and he got beaten out. That 6'8" frame, the leg's not long enough.
And this is a fly ball into left field for a base hit. A run's going to score for Chugiak. It's going to be an RBI single for Jaden Hill. And all of a sudden, the game is 4-1, Matsu.
And that will end it. 41 straight innings without allowing an earned run. That is officially the end of the streak. And more important things to worry about now for the Miners, because you've still got bases loaded, nobody out. This Chugiak offense, which had been so dormant for most of the season, especially against the Miners, they've scored a combined 2 runs against Matsu this entire season. All of a sudden, against one of the best pitchers on the staff, they look comfortable. So Mound Conference just concluded between Vaughn and Hattenbach. They got to get this figured out quick.
That they do as RJ Rickabaugh comes to the plate. Matsu has been so dominant as of late, especially with the pitching. This is a odd situation. This is a fly ball out to right center that's going to score at least 2 runs for Chugiak. Here's the throw to third, but it's not going to matter. The Chinooks have made it a 1-run game on a 2-run single from RJ Rickabaugh.
Now, something is definitely wrong for Hayden Hattenbach. I mean, he doesn't look injured or uncomfortable or anything, but he's just, the stuff that's been so dominant this season is, he's not putting it where he wants to go. And now here comes pitching coach Steve Hecker out to talk with Hattenbach, probably wondering a similar thing as me, if there's some kind of issue here, because this is not the same guy that we've seen be so dominant and practically unhittable. He came into the day with 1 hit allowed, and he's already allowed 5 in this game, or sorry, 4. And the first 5 batters he faced have all reached base. 3 runs already home.
Runners on first and second here as well for Chugiak. Hill at second and Rickabaugh at first. And the Chinooks, who were down and out after the top half of the first, have responded against Matsu. Of course, you wonder if they have motivation after that 12-0 loss that they suffered at the hands of Matsu just 2 short days ago. Probably eager to not let that happen again, but Matsu's still in command at the moment. Hayden Hattenbach and this defense, though, need to get outs in a hurry.
So far, the season series between these two is 2-1 in favor of the Miners. The Miners have 2 blowout wins, and the Chinooks a 1-0 squeaker as Hattenbach throws down to second. A little bit of a tap dance routine there by Jaden Hill. Sorry, I stole your thunder, partner.
All good, all good. Got to make sure we keep an eye on all the action across the diamond. Degenhardt at the plate, and Hattenbach keeping a close side second. He's going to show bunt. It will be laid down, and that's a foul ball. Just barely rolled foul along the third base line, and the count goes to 0-1 for the shortstop for the Chinooks, Oliver Degenhardt.
It's hard to bunt on a turf field, of course. The ball bounces much further, and it's more of a risk of rolling foul because the entire infield is the same material. It's not like grass and dirt where it's going to be harder for it to roll over, which is what makes Drake Kerr's bunt, which was an infield bunt, didn't even roll down the line. It just rolled into the gap between the pitcher and first base, all the more impressive.
Pitch on the way from Hattenbach, showing bunt again is Degenhardt. That pitch is high, and the count goes to 1-1. Oliver Degenhardt with the most RBIs on the team at 8 total on the season. He's also in a 4-way tie for most hits for Chugiak here in 2024.
This is a big at-bat here.
This is going to be another bunt. This one is going to be a fair ball. It just barely stayed within the third base line. It was on the white, and Chugiak has loaded the bases once again on one of the unluckiest singles you'll ever see for Matsu.
Yeah, that one was just unfortunate. Even if they had decided to field that ball, they probably would not have been able to make a play on it. So that's just another great piece of bunting by Degenhardt. He stuck with it, and they've got Hattenbach on the ropes here.
David Broughton to the plate as that pitch is high for ball 1. And 5 consecutive hits for Chugiak here in the bottom half of the first. And the tying run is currently at third. The leading run is at second. The Chinooks are knocking on the door. That pitch goes high for ball number 2. And Hayden Hattenbach in more trouble than he's been in all season long, trying to do what he can to limit the potential damage.
Just saw Drew Kennan go running down to the Miners bullpen. There are a couple guys already getting loose. So I think my intuition might be correct that there is a problem, and they might be trying to buy some time until they can remove Hayden from the game.
Ball
We're hoping
three,
he pulls through.
And that is a strike. Yeah, that's the biggest thing right now. Can Hayden pull through in these tough circumstances? David Broughton hoping that that is not going to be the case. But Hattenbach has found his way out of trouble before. 3-1 count. And that's ball four. That's going to score a run, and the game is all tied. It's going to be an RBI for Broughton as he brings in the man at third, Jaden Hill. We are tied up at 4.
Still no outs, and all but 2 of the Chinooks batters have come to the plate, and all of them have reached base. This is probably the most unfortunate single frame we have seen by a Miners pitcher this season.
It has been a tough frame for Hayden Hattenbach as he'll fire in this pitch low for ball 1 against Brady Groves. And again, Drew Kennan currently warming up in the bullpen. And we wonder when we might see him as this game progresses.
Saw Ben Dete go down there as well. He's part of the rotation for these Miners, but they might.
As this is a fly ball out to left field. This is going to stay in the yard as McCausland will throw onto home plate. And boy, that was a great defensive play by Kyle McCausland to make sure that no runs scored.
That was incredible. He's got an amazing arm, and he shows it there where RJ Rickabaugh would have definitely been out, as that was a bullet right into the bucket for Logan Vaughn. Would not have even been much of a play at the plate, and that's a huge first out. If Hattenbach wants to escape this inning without surrendering the lead, he's just a double play away from it.
As Orion Medeiros comes to the plate, the 9-hole hitter is going to swing and miss at this pitch, and the count goes to 0-1. Maybe with that out, Matsu can get that fire back with their defense, and maybe Hayden Hattenbach can settle in just a bit here.
As I was mentioning before, though, Ben Dete is out in the bullpen. He's normally a starter for these Miners, but with the situation unfolding here, I understand the thought from pitching coach Steve Hecker, maybe an emergency long relief appearance where he could come in the second inning and try and settle down.
As the count is 0-2 here, this is going to be a fly ball out to right center field. Drake Kerr is back, and he makes the catch. Coming home is Rickabaugh. The throw is going to be offline, not in time. And the Chinooks take the lead on a sacrifice fly from Orion Medeiros. They're up 5-4.
That throw just a little bit off there. It was unrealistic to ask the outfielders to nail the catcher twice in a row. If it had been a little closer to the plate, that might have been a closer play, but when you're giving up hard hit balls like that, it's really not much to ask your fielders to pick up the slack. And just like that, a 4-run top of the first answered with a 5-run bottom of the first, and I don't think the Miners have allowed this many runs in any inning so far this season.
As Cade Smith makes his way to the plate, it's been a long time since we've seen, as this one is going to bounce away from Logan Vaughn, and another run's going to score. Coming home for the Chinooks here is going to be Oliver Dagenhart, and the score is now 6-4, Chinooks on top.
Yeah, not a lot of analysis there, just took the bounce a little wrong, got away from him. Something you can afford to do when the bases aren't loaded.
As Cade Smith is back at the plate, the count is 1-0. A 6-run bottom of the first for Chugiak, and there's a strike. The count evens at 1-1. You got to give them credit after that top of the first sledgehammer laid down by Matsu with a 4-run inning. They have really responded. Swing and a miss, and the count goes to 1-2. Hayden Hattenbach trying to get that final strikeout and end this inning with Matsu down 2. He might go for that fastball once again, although we have seen the breaking ball used today. Cade Smith looking for his first hit after forcing a walk his first time up. Fouls this one into the cage, and the count stays at 1-2.
So the season high in runs for Chugiak-Eagle River is 9. They did that in a win against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. Second most they've scored is 7, which was in a loss to the Bucks. They have 6 right now.
1-2 count, pitch, and a fly ball out to right center. This one is going to be caught. What a catch by Riker Scow as he was just able to bring that in. And that ends the bottom half of the first, but it was a good one for Chugiak and a tough one for Matsu. 6 runs scored and many, many hits for the Chinooks. But this game is still very much in the early going and a lot of baseball left to be played. We'll be back for the top of the second. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. Combined 10 runs between the Miners and the Chinooks in that first inning alone. 4 from Mat-Su, 6 from Chugiak, and this has the potential to be the biggest offensive outburst in a single game this season. As these two teams combine and go blow for blow. Count goes to 1-0 here. This is Riker Scow at the plate. 9-1-2 to lead off for Mat-Su here in the top of the second.
The most runs scored in a game the Miners have been a participant in, of course, is 19. That was that 10-9 loss to the Bucks on the first week of the season. We're already halfway there. 10 runs between both teams after one.
Yeah, we're certainly on that pace. This is going to be a chopper left side, and it goes foul just to the left of the third baseman David Broughton, and the count is going to be 2-1.
Riker Scow, one of the many Miners that has been on a tear lately. He's hitting 147, but he's got a pair of doubles in his last few games. 4 runs batted in. And has drawn 7 walks. Also, one of the best stolen base leaders on the team. He's got 5, which is tied for second, dwarfed by Drake Kerr's 11, but still a sizable output. And this team, the top stolen base offense in the ABL.
That they are, and that is very useful to have at this point in the game, and especially in this high scoring of a game. Every run counts. Count goes to 3-1 here as that pitch was high from Livesey. So the 3-1 on Scow. And that's outside for ball 4. So Riker Scow draws a leadoff walk. 1 runner aboard for Mat-Su, and the offense kind of picking up where they left off in the top half of the first inning.
So this is going to be a shootout, I guess. That's the first walk issued by Livesey. All the base runners in the last inning were via a hit, and the loudest among those, of course, was that 3-run bomb by Brandon Durand, but we're back to the top of the order now.
As Drake Kerr comes to the plate, he had a leadoff bunt that resulted in a single in his first at-bat. Here's a fly ball out to left. It is going to be fouled, but it had home run distance as it cleared the fence. Count goes to 0-1.
It certainly did. And that's one that will add to the list of just misses.
We haven't seen a multi-homer game this year from Mat-Su or Chugiak for that matter. But with the way these batters are hitting tonight, we very well may see that. Here's a throwback to first. Kerr quickly getting back on the bag. Feels like right now that this game is going to come down to whichever side, as far as pitching is concerned, can settle in and get a bit of a drop-off on these offenses, as that's a breaking ball that's high, and the count will go to 1-1. So Drake Kerr looking for hit number 20 on the year. He'd be the first Miner to do that here in 2024. He can get it soon and potentially get RBI number 10 as well, as there's going to be a throw to second. Scow slides, and he got there in time. Just in the nick of time for Riker Scow as he turned on the afterburners, and that's going to be a close stolen base for Mat-Su.
You're wondering when he was going to pounce. As I mentioned before, he's got an affinity for attempting those, and he just gets in there, beating out a solid throw from Rickabaugh.
1-2 count, and like you mentioned, Rickabaugh did a good job of recovering and almost was able to get Scow out there, but Scow was fast. This one popped up in the infield. The shortstop, Dagenhart, wants it, and he will make the catch, and that's one away. So No such success for Drake Kerr this time, but Dom Patrizzi, who already has a sacrifice fly in this game, could change the offensive fortunes for Mat-Su here in the top of the second.
Yeah, Patrizzi and McCausland were the two of the first three batters up in that top of the first, and they both made outs, so all that damage happened with 2 outs, except for, of course, the Drake Kerr run, which was scored on Patrizzi's fly ball.
Pitch from Livesey, and that's going to be called for a strike. Count goes to 0-1. There was an appeal to the first base umpire, and he called for a strike. 0-1 count. Dom Patrizzi with a .212 average entering this game and a .325 on-base percentage has drawn 11 walks for Mat-Su this season. That's second best on the team. This is a fly ball into left center field, back towards the wall, and it is going to be caught just at the end of the outfield. Scow advances on to third. For just a second, I thought Patrizzi had his second homer of the year.
Yeah, that ball just kept on carrying, and the center fielder out there, Jaden Hill, made that significantly harder than he needed to by turning around at the last second and catching it over his shoulder, essentially. Thought that might be off the wall, or probably would have been off the wall if he hadn't made the catch. But Patrizzi with another near miss, but another productive out as he's got a runner 90 feet away.
As that'll go for a strike on McCausland, who himself had a home run last night, the walk-off 3-run home run in the bottom half of the 8th to send the Glacier Pilots home. Count is 0-1. Livesey the pitch, and he is not going to be able to find the zone this time. Count goes to 1-1. McCausland struck out swinging in his first at-bat of the game.
A reminder, last game he was 0 for 3 going into that last plate appearance when he hit that 3-run homer, so his outs that he makes don't do anything to stop his momentum.
That they do not. He's always got that potential to deliver that earth-shattering hit, and that's one thing that you love about watching him. You can't take your eyes off the screen. You've got to make sure you know when Kyle McCausland is up to bat, and pitchers have to be aware of that as well. He'll swing and miss at this one. Count goes to 2-2. He was going for it that time.
Absolutely. Just a little score update from elsewhere in the ABL. In the top of the third, the Pilots and Oilers are tied up at 1. Miners are keenly watching that game for reasons we'll explain later.
This one chopped towards the Chinooks dugout, and the count will stay at 2-2, bouncing off of the chain-link fence over there. Miners are 9-8 in the ABL right now, and like you mentioned, Charlie, they have a vested interest in that other game. 2-2 count. This is going to be caught by the first baseman, Jordan Jaffe, in spectacular fashion, but unfortunate fashion for Mat-Su. That'll bring us to the bottom half of the second, and the score is still 6-4, Chinooks on top. We'll be Welcome back to Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska. It has been an offensive explosion so far between these two teams, the Miners and the Chinooks. 6-4, Chugiak on top. And there is a new pitcher on the mound for Mat-Su, the man out of Nebraska, Ryan Harrahill.
Yeah, Hayden Hattenbach's day is done, and he went just 1 inning, allowed 5 hits, 2 walks, 6 runs, all of them earned, ending that streak of 41 straight innings without allowing an earned run for the team in spectacular fashion. And on to relieve him in for a long relief appearance most likely is Ryan Harrahill. He is out of Elkhorn, Nebraska, a freshman with the Cornhuskers, had just 1 inning pitched in his college season, but so far with the minors, he has gotten a lot more experience than that. On the season thus far, he has 7 1/3 innings, a 4.91 ERA across 3 appearances, has allowed 4 earned runs, struck out 5, and 2 of those appearances were starts. This will be now 2 that are not, but it'll be a pseudo start. We'll see if the minors will have to go with more of a bullpen day. They do have an off day tomorrow, so they can't afford to use more of their arms out of the pen if they have to, but they're definitely hoping that Harry Hill can steady and slow down the explosive Chinooks offense that we saw back in the first inning.
That is going to be the key for Ryan Harehill in this Mat-Su defense. Gave up 6 total runs to the Chinooks in 1 frame of action, and Chugiak had a stretch of 6 hits in a row in that frame. Or check it, 5 hits in a row. Either way, it was quite a bit. As Louis Zalaika comes to the plate. First pitch from Harehill, and it is going to be a ball. 1-0 count.
Zalaika had the first of those hits. He was up second person to bat in the first, and he was the first of 5 straight singles surrendered by Hayden Hattenbach.
Pitch from Harehill. This is going to be a line shot into left center field for a base hit. A leadoff single for Louis Zalaika, and the hit train for Chugiak is still roaring, not quite into the station yet.
That's their 6th hit to match their 6 runs on the scoreboard, and second already by Zalaika. He's seen only, I think, 3 or 4 pitches total and got a pair of singles out of it.
6 total hits from Chugiak now in this game. Just an incredible offensive output, and Mat-Su doing everything they can to mitigate that. Harehill with a breaking ball, and it finds the zone for a strike. Count goes to 0-1 on Jaffe, who did have a single in his first at-bat of the game as well.
And just for reference, the next 4 batters we see, including Jaffe, you can say that about.
Right. A lot of success from Chugiak on that end. Pitch from Harehill is low. That is going to be ball number 1.
Nice stop by Vaughn there.
That was a good stop by Logan Vaughn, able to make sure that that baseball stayed in front of him. Harehill, the Cornhusker, got some experience this past year in Big Ten play. And, of course, Nebraska had a pretty incredible run in the Big Ten tournament as well. Freshman out of Elkhorn, 6'4", 215. This is a fastball that gets in for a strike. Count goes to 1-2.
Chinooks are swinging for the fence, and Harehill's got a lot of movement on his pitches. A lot of velocity on that fastball. We saw the curveball earlier.
Former all-conference and all-state player in high school. Here is a liner into right field for another base hit. This is going to be the 2nd straight singles. That goes all the way to the wall, and now all the way to third for Chugiak is going to be Zalaika, and Jordan Jaffe with a monstrous single.
Yeah, I looked down. I don't know what happened, if that got through Riker Scow somehow, but that's an unfortunate turn of events. Once again, another runner in scoring position, and once again, the Miners pitcher having trouble getting the first out of the inning.
As Jaden Hill will make his way to the plate. This is such an odd thing to see after Mat-Su's dominance from the mound over these last few games. They had not allowed an earned run in over 40 innings, and all of a sudden, the script has certainly flipped to some degree. This is going to get away from Vaughn. As you saw Hill kind of move out of the way, it's going to be a hit-by pitch. It got him.
Yeah, he was grabbing at his foot. I did think that might have just gotten him, but unfortunate.
So on to first he goes, and that's now bases loaded once again for Chugiak. And we're about back to where we started in the bottom half of the first. As R.J. Rickabaugh comes to the plate, he had a 2 RBI single his first time up. So this is a momentous moment for both Chugiak and Mat-Su in the overall scope of this game. That fouled back. Count goes to 0-1.
If there was ever a moment to get the first strikeout of the game for Mat-Su, it would be right here.
They could use it at this point in time to help kind of turn some of that momentum back on their side and stop the onslaught. Harehill the pitch, and that was a nice curveball. It gets in the zone, and the count goes to 0-2. Swing and a miss by Rickabaugh as well.
The offense has been explosive for sure, but you still don't want to be playing from behind. And one fell swoop here. One strong swing could make that deficit balloon. So Harehill in a very high leverage situation here.
As that's going to be outside for ball one and low. RJ Rickabaugh coming into this game for Chugiak with a total of 5 hits on the season and a 143 batting average. Also 7 RBIs. He's extended it since then to 9. He's got a chance at number 10 here. Harehill will fire in that fastball low, and the count evens. It's now 2-2.
That was very close to the zone. Harehill wanted that one.
Now, how does Ryan Harehill handle this situation? Does he go back to the fastball or try the curveball again? The 2-2. It's a low pitch, and it's a ground ball that gets through into right. That's going to score a run for Chugiak. And here comes the second. The throw to third is not going to be in time. It is the second consecutive 2 RBI single for RJ Rickabaugh. He's now got 4 ribbies in the game. It is now 8-4 Chugiak as well.
Just past the diving arm of the second baseman, Dom Patrizzi. Not that he would have been able to do much with it, even if he got it in his glove. Just perfect placement for Chugiak. Perfectly unoptimal placement for the Miners. Chugiak just been all singles. No real big momentum swinging home run or double or crazy sequence. It's just been death by 1,000 cuts. Placing these balls where the fielders can't get them.
As Oliver Degenhart makes his way to the plate. A combined 8 runs now through just 2 innings for the Chinooks. And if you take away the Brandon Durand home run, they would be up by a lot, as that one is fouled off by Degenhart. Count goes to 0-1. It's really that home run that's, at the moment at least, keeping Matsu in the game.
And Jaden Hill got all the way down to third on that as well. So still a runner in scoring position.
Runners in the corners here for Chugiak. And like you mentioned, Hill all the way to third. Harehill with an 0-1 count to Degenhart. Tries the curveball, and it's low, and the count goes to 1-1.
And Harehill not getting the benefit of the doubt from the umpires so far, and can't say I blame them. It's been tough sledding for these Miners' arms. That was a good stop there by Perez at first.
That was. That throw was low, and Perez able to keep it in front of himself. And that is fortunate, because if that had gotten by, it would have probably scored a run for the Chinooks. Count 1-1. Pitch on the way, and it's going to be outside for ball 2.
Yeah, Chugiak really just, they're content with just sitting there and waiting for a pitch to come right down the middle. They know that the strike zone is pretty small. They don't want to strike out or pop out or have an out that they can't make anything out of, because they know what this offense is capable of. Of course, they saw it firsthand just a couple of days ago, and Matsu hoping they don't pad on anymore, make that job all the more difficult.
2-2 count here for Harehill. Degenhart, the top RBI man on the team, as that is going to get away. It's going to be a strikeout. Degenhart unhappy with the call, or maybe unhappy with himself. Either way, it's a critical out, number 1, and the first strikeout of the day for Matsu.
Well, he does get the strikeout. Just a couple runs scored later is not ideal, but he does get that critical first step. And down to second, RJ Rickabaugh on that. I'm not entirely sure why that was allowed, because I thought the ball got away from the catcher and that was ruled dead, but I might have missed that wrong. But in any case, 2 runners in scoring position now.
So now David Broughton brings his way to the plate. He forced a walk in his first at-bat. That pitch low from Harehill, count going to 1-0. If Matsu can get out of this inning down 8-4, it would be a small victory in this case, especially with 2 runners in scoring position and 1 out. Harehill fires in a pitch. This is a fly ball deep into right field. It's going to stay in the yard, though. Scow chasing after it. He makes the catch. Tagging for the Chinooks and scoring for the Chinooks here will be Hill, and there's the throw to third, not in time. And Chugiak has taken a 9-4 lead on a sac fly from David Broughton.
Yeah, I like what Scow went for, throwing it into third, because he knew he wasn't going to be able to get the out at home, and it was pretty close. As close as it probably was reasonably going to be, but not close enough. That's a second out, but a 9th run on the board for Chugiak.
Rickabaugh making his way to third, and Chugiak now with a 5-run lead, up 9-4. 3 here in the bottom of the second, 6 in the bottom of the first. Now we'll see if Brady Groves can add to that collection. Harrahill with the pitch. This is fouled off of Groves, and the count goes to 0-1.
Groves was the first out back in the first inning with a fly out to Kyle McCausland out in left field. Just a reminder, the most runs that the Miners have allowed this season is 10, which again was in that Bucks game.
0-1 count here with 2 away. Trying to make sure they don't pass that threshold. That's going to be a swing and a miss, and the count goes to 0-2.
So 1 strike away from ending it here, the inning that is. 3 runs home and 1 more at third. Every runner left on base counts in this game, though.
Groves has struck out 8 times this year, presenting an opportunity for Harrahill. If he can get in a good fastball or breaking ball, and he got it. That was the strikeout Matsu was looking for. Here's the throw to first. It's in time. So Ryan Harrahill ends the inning with 2 strikeouts, but the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks, a flamethrower on offense. 3 runs scored in the bottom half of the second. They're up 9-4 in this game. Matsu is going to have to find their way back. We'll be back soon for the top of the third. You're watching Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call, and your Matsu Miners in a bit of trouble early on. Down 9-4 to the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks, but it's still early. It's the top half of the third inning, and there's a lot of baseball left to be played, and with hitters like Christian Perez, you can never count yourself out.
Yeah, the 3 due up, Perez, Cochran, Durand, they all got hits in the first inning.
This is fouled into the cage by Perez. Count goes to 0-1. Like we've said before, best batting average on the team, best on-base percentage that the Miners possess as well as current on-base percentage for Matsu stands at an impressive .410. As he lets that pitch go by, it's going to be ball 1.
That's, of course, discounting the 1.000 marks that Ryan Cochran has in both those departments.
That is true. Here's a fly ball out to left center field. This one will stay in the yard, and the catch will be made by Brady Groves. 1 away, but some good contact here for Perez.
Yeah, comeback's not going to happen all in 1 inning, most likely. You're just going to have to chip away. They definitely showed potential in each of the first 2 innings, with Riker Scow getting all the way to third back in the second, and obviously 4 runs coming home in the opening frame. So no saying they can't replicate that.
As Cochran grounds 1 to third, throw to first will be in time. A 5-3 putout. David Broughton and Jordan Jaffe leaking up, and that is too quickly down for Matsu.
We're in dire need of some run generation here, and I know just the man.
Did you say generation? Here comes the generator, Brandon Durand. And last time up, in case you need a reminder, folks, 3-run home run to left center field. Maybe he could work some magic here with 2 outs. Same pitcher still on the mound as well. Count goes to 1-0. Nolan Livesey, who had that tough start to the game, but Chugiak has kept him out there, and he's answered as of late. But again, nothing safe with Brandon Durand. Count goes to 1-1.
And nothing safe in general with this Matsu Miners offense as a whole. 9-4 might sound like a large margin, but this team has scored runs in bunches all season long. And might be later in the game, we might blink and all of a sudden they'll be back in front, so don't go anywhere.
Yeah, no need for panic for both Matsu and for you folks watching at home. There's a lot of baseball left to be played, and this offense has shown some stuff this season. There's a swing and a miss, and the count goes to 2-2. They've especially shown just how good they can be over the last 2 games. So now a 2-2 count with 2 away. Durand looking to work some magic. This is a ground ball that is just going to be fouled to the left of the third base bag. Very, very close, but just not able to stay fair.
Yeah, that was weird. That almost went off the bottom of his bat. And it took a very strange-looking angle based on the point on his bat at which it hit.
As there's I believe something rolled all the way to left field. That might have been the baseball. They're just making sure they got it out of there. So they stop play for just a second. And now we will resume with the 2-2. And that goes outside for ball 3, so Durand works the count full. And he has an opportunity now on a payoff pitch.
He's been great at getting deep into counts all season long.
Payoff and a swing and a miss. Durand strikes out swinging. And that'll bring us to the bottom half of the third. After a 4-run top of the first, Matsu has been held scoreless in the last 2 frames offensively. And before we go back to play, we're going to take a quick moment to talk about the Alaska Baseball League standings. Here's our check-in on the ABL standings today. The Anchorage Bucks currently on top with a 12-5 record. Peninsula Oilers at 8-7, right above your Matsu Miners at 9-8. And again, if Matsu wins and Peninsula loses tonight, Matsu overtakes them for that second spot. And it's the Pilots in 4th at 8-12, who Matsu played yesterday, and Chugiak at 5-10 in the 5th spot, who Matsu is playing tonight, Charlie.
So the Chinooks are watching the results of that game as well, because if they get a win today and Peninsula wins in that showdown against the Pilots, then Chugiak will move up to 4th in the ABL, with the Pilots falling back down to last. So the standings have condensed a little bit over the last few days. The Bucks have opened up a bit of a lead. They got that win against the Oilers yesterday to open up that 3-game lead, but Matsu on their 3-game winning streak have gotten themselves all the way back into second. They are tied, but Peninsula, of course, with the tiebreaker in that series, and they have a better winning percentage as well, so they are going to need to leapfrog them with a win today and hope that the Oilers can fall to the Pilots. But before they worry about that, they're going to have to worry about the game that's happening right now.
Yeah, they're going to find their way out of this hole against the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. It looks like Ryan Harrahill's going to stay on the mound, and Matsu is hoping that the first 2 innings were more of an anomaly than anything else. And again, we've seen just how good this pitching can be, but now it faces real adversity. They haven't really seen a situation quite like this all season. And how do they respond in this critical moment?
That is the question. The offense has gone a bit dormant. They've made 6 straight outs now. But if they can just start this inning off well, they don't load the bases with nobody out like you've done the last 2 innings, get a quick out, force the Oilers to play, or excuse me, the Chinooks to play on their back foot.
That's a liner into left field, not how Matsu wanted to start this thing off. And number 21, able to get a leadoff single, Ryan Medeiros gets the job done early.
So now all but 2 members of this Chinooks batting order have gotten a hit, and one of those 2 that has not is Cade Smith. He has walked and scored a run, also hit a fly out. Both of those were in the first inning.
So the sophomore from Hawaii with the leadoff single, and now we'll see Cade Smith come to the plate. The freshman out of Searcy, Arkansas, plays for the Razorbacks. So it's Big Ten versus SEC right here. You've got one from Nebraska, one from Arkansas. And of course, the new era of college athletics starting as well. We had that become official yesterday, all the new conferences. SEC now has Oklahoma and Texas, Big Ten adding Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC. And here's a throw to second. It is not going to be able to make it in time, and it was a bobble as well by Ryan Cochran.
Well, it's because the runner ran right into him. Ryan Medeiros did not get out of the way. Cochran had to jump to make that play, and Medeiros did not slide or do really anything, so I'm not sure how Cochran was supposed to make that play. Not sure why he wasn't called out there, but the stolen base stands, so another runner in scoring position.
Yeah, it almost looked like he made direct contact with him, and I thought that we saw the tag that time, but we did not, apparently, according to the home plate umpire. Count goes to 3-0.
It fell out of his glove because he got ran into.
So you could argue interference in that case. No matter what, you've got a runner in second at Medeiros. And now Cade Smith at the plate with a 3-0 count. Pitch from Harahill, and he gets the strike. Count goes to 3-1. Nice fastball from Harahill that time. Louis Zalaika currently on deck, who's already got 2 hits in this game. Harahill is going to have a tough slate ahead. 3-1 count, taking his time. This is going to be a chopper left side, picked up by Cochran, thrown to first, and Perez could not bring it down.
Oh, he must have been inches off that bag. I thought he landed right on it. That's just unfortunate.
Perez was able to make the catch, but he couldn't bring his shoe down in time to get on the bag. And that allows Cade Smith to get on to first with what I assume is going to be our first error of the game.
Yeah, that's Don Patrizzi with a throwing mistake. Or, excuse me, actually, that's Ryan Cochran,
right.
The new shortstop.
So Cochran with the E6 on a throwing error, and now Louis Zalaika comes to the plate. Runners in the corners for the Chinooks, who have the opportunity to break double digits in the 3rd inning. Harahill throws back to first and could not do anything with Cade Smith. Zalaika, as we mentioned already, with those 2 singles and has also scored twice. So he has certainly been one of the biggest parts of this offensive onslaught. That is a breaking ball inside for ball 1.
He's batting for the 3rd straight inning here, as will Jaffe, Hill, and Rickabaugh. Actually, the majority of this Chinooks lineup.
That's a testament to how much success they've had against Matsu today. Again, Chugiak entering this game with a 5-10 record in the ABL. This is a bouncing ball left side. Throw to second will be in time. No chance at a double play. A run does score for the Chinooks, as coming home for Chugiak was Medeiros.
Yeah, just not in time to turn 2. Of course, the run would have scored regardless. Zalaika gets aboard on the fielder's choice, and that'll be double digits. A punishment that Matsu has been inflicting on other teams lately, but getting a taste of their own medicine at the hands of Chugiak-Eagle River.
So Cade Smith out on that play, and now a 10-4 Chugiak lead. One of the biggest explosions we've seen. Alaska has a lot of volcanoes, but this may be the biggest eruption we've seen in a while in Alaska with this offensive output from Chugiak. Jaffe to the plate. Of course, Matsu not going to go down easily. Count going to 1-0. Throw back to first is not going to be in time to Perez.
Jaffe, the other, along with Zalaika and Rickabaugh, who has 2 singles already in the first 2 innings of this game.
As that's going to be a low pitch. It's going to be ball number 2 in the turf that time, and Vaughn doing a good job of keeping the baseball in front of him. This is a tough moment for any baseball team when you're down like this early on and it just seems like the offense is scoring at will. This tests your mental fortitude and what you can do in these situations. There's a swing and a miss for a 2-1 count. But a lot of times, and I think the players would tell you this as well, this is where you learn a lot more about your team and just how motivated and together you're going to be at this portion of the season. And we'll learn a lot more about Matsu from that end as this game progresses. 2-1 count. This ball flied out and fouled. Count will be 2-2.
That was nearly a home run. I think that was closer to the foul pole than it first appeared like it was going to be. Miners catch a break here.
Yeah, you saw Scow chasing after it. It was certainly close enough, but just not quite able to stay within fair territory. 2-2 count, and a swing and a miss. Throw back to first, not going to be in time, but a strikeout for Ryan Harahill nonetheless, his 3rd of the game on Jordan Jaffe.
They could not have asked for a better throw out of the hand of Logan Vaughn, or a better timed throw, I guess I should say. The throw's location wasn't ideal. Perez would have had to make an acrobatic aerial tag as the runner on first. Zalaika retreated back and wasn't able to. I don't know if you are hearing it on the broadcast. Somebody has a trombone or adjacent sounding instrument that they're playing.
Jaden Hill at the plate. This is a ground ball to second, bobbled for a moment by Patrizzi, but he still gets it over to first, a 4-3 putout, and that will do it for the bottom half of the third inning. Chinooks add 1 run on an RBI from Louis Zalaika, and they have a 10-4 lead. Charlie Fellows will take you through the middle 4 innings. We'll be right back in just a moment. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube.
We're on to the 4th inning here in Chugiak, Alaska. The matchup between the Mat-Su Miners and the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks going a bit differently than the last 2 times the Mat-Su Miners have ventured into these grounds. The home Chinooks with a 10-4 lead against the Miners. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons bringing you this action as pitch 1 is in the artificial turf dirt to Chase Wilcox. It'll be 7-8-9. Wilcox, Vaughn, and Scow due up against Nolan Livesey, who since his rocky first inning when he allowed 4 runs has settled in pretty well. He's retired 6 straight minors. That's popped up down the left field line, and third baseman will make the grab. Broughton gets the first out.
Yeah, we've seen some good contact from Mat-Su these last couple of innings, and that was an example of that. Just unable to propel it into the outfield that time was Wilcox. They're making contact with the baseball. They just haven't been able to get a lot of line shots as of late. That is something that they'll need more of, especially down 6. Mat-Su's going to have to show a sense of urgency here.
As we have Logan Vaughn here who flied out. It's interesting, the first time through the order, which is normally the hardest of the however many the offense gets, the Miners had, of course, 5 hits, scored 4 runs. The second time through the order, nobody's reached bases. That's hit hard by Logan Vaughn, but not hard enough. A sliding catch by the left fielder Groves, though he had the ball in his glove before he started the slide. And a quick 2 outs here in the top of the 4th.
Yeah, sometimes you're a little bit unlucky when it comes to the placement of the baseball. If that had been a little bit more to the right, I don't think anybody could have made a play on it. But instead, it was just in the perfect spot for Groves to slide in and make that catch. That's a instance of unluckiness, and Mat-Su's had a bit of that tonight.
Ball 1 comes into Riker Scow, who is the last Miner to reach base. Drew a walk to lead off the second inning. Stole second, made it all the way to third, but was not able to score. And a quick 2-0 count from Livesey. With the top of the order due up, it'd be an opportunity to get another 2-out rally going, just like what we saw in the first inning. Now 3 balls.
Well, this is where Scow has made his money in the past this season. At one point, he was the top guy when it came to forcing walks from the opposing side, and now he's got the count to 3-0, so maybe a chance to do it again right here.
That's right down the middle. Drake Kerr on deck for the Miners. And Riker Scow with a couple of extra base hits in his last few games. Wanting one here, instead he'll cut and miss to bring the count full.
Yeah, a couple of low pitches, and Livesey trying to switch things up on Riker Scow, and now Riker's got to account for that. This is a massive payoff pitch.
Dribbler foul. It's a polar opposite in terms of the baseball action on the field, but also the field itself compared to a couple days ago. The sun is out. It's a beautiful day. No rain on the horizon, and Chugiak-Eagle River seems to be taking advantage of that, as that is another 1-2-3 frame for Nolan Livesey. Second time through the order is perfect for him, and the Miners suddenly struggling for answers. After 4, they've got 4 runs, but they trail it by 6. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Headed to the bottom of the 4th with Chugiak-Eagle River set to bat once more as they lead it 10-4. They have not failed to score a run yet in this game, and it will be Rickabaugh, DeGenhart, and Broughton due up against Ryan Harrahill for his 3rd inning of work. Harrahill has allowed 4 hits, 3 strikeouts, and a hit by pitch to go along with 4 runs. First pitch comes into Rickabaugh, who's got a pair of 2-run singles in this game, and goes for a strike.
Rickabaugh, one of a couple players from Richmond on this Chugiak team. He had a season-high 3 hits versus Cornell back on March 17th and 4 RBIs versus Princeton on March 11th. There's another New Jersey reference, which Mat-Su knows a lot about.
And, of course, the Don Patrizzi, Nick Bisaccia, half of their infield on some nights, New Jersey natives. Here's the 1-1. That just misses low.
We were talking about that before the game, about how Mat-Su has a lot of players from similar areas or from the same state. Heavy Texas presence on this team as well. That's something we've also noticed. You've got players from Incarnate Word, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, and Sam Houston, among others.
And as far as place of birth, not necessarily the college they attend, 15 states represented on this Mat-Su Miners roster. 3-1 coming from Harrahill. And that's hit into center field. Drake Kerr coming on and makes the catch. For the first time this game, the leadoff man is retired.
And maybe that's what Mat-Su needs to help calm down this Chugiak offense. One thing I've seen from them in this game is that once they get one hit, it feels like they kind of get on a roll, right? And they start to feel the momentum shift just a little bit. So if you start things off on a down for Chugiak, maybe that's the magic touch for Mat-Su. You don't let them feed off that momentum and get back to what they do best.
Now here's the shortstop, Oliver Degenhart, who takes a strike right down the middle. He's got a single and a strikeout.
Harrahill's starting to settle in just a little bit these past few pitches. He's starting to find his zone, and after that kind of rough start, he is getting better here.
Oppo shot goes foul. Degenhart, as I mentioned, the shortstop for the Chinooks, a .218 hitter, 8 runs batted in, does have a home run this season. Leads the squad in total bases, actually second.
Look how long Harrahill's taking here. He is making sure to really size up Degenhart.
And he throws it over the head of Logan Vaughn, who had to reach up to catch it. Yeah, no runners on base, but also no pitch clock in the Alaska Baseball League, so you can work as slow as you want to. 1-2. On the ground. Here is Cochran, and that ate him up. Throws over to first, and it won't be in time. So the newest member of the infield for Mat-Su committing the error, and Degenhart reaches base.
Yeah, I think that was Patrizzi who ended up bobbling that thing that time, and that is a tough one. He was communicating with Harrihill there for just a second about maybe him trying to make a play on that baseball, and you saw Harrihill reach out. I don't know if that caught Patrizi off guard, but that may have been a factor.
Yeah, apologies for that. I keep getting them confused. They do each have an error in this game. Cochran had one back in the third, but that last one was indeed Don Patrizi. Lehigh teammates with a pair of them in this game. Not exactly what I'm sure Tyler Brunn is not happy to see that. He's been so keyed in on improving the infield defense for this team. As pitch one comes in, and that's a swinging bunt fielded by Vaughn. He's going to throw it a second and throw it into the outfield. Not sure why I didn't just take the force out at first, and that comes back to bite him. Good job there by Patrizi to back that throw up. Otherwise, that might have indeed at least advanced a runner to third, if not more, but it'll be Broughton reaching on a fielder's choice and Degenhart getting to second on the second straight error committed by this Miners D.
Yeah, need to, and I think, like you mentioned, that was a tough decision that time by Logan, and I understand the idea there. Get the leadoff runner away from second base and keep a guy out of scoring position, but it was going to be a tough throw no matter what, and we already saw that Degenhart was pretty well on his way, so I think first might have been the better option, but tough situation and a tough split-second decision.
Yeah, I also think you just have to take outs where you can get them. I don't think they're really in a position to get cute with throwing runners out, trying to maximize their leverage. They just want to get out of innings with no damage. And now the runners both go. Here's Vaughn throwing to third, and that will not be in time. That was not his fault. A good jump got by Degenhart, so down to third he goes. Broughton stayed at first base. I misspoke there. Runner singular went, and Degenhart at third base now with a 1-1 count on Brady Groves, who is 0 for 2.
Yeah, interesting that Broughton decided to stay at first base that time. But either way, you've got a runner in the hot corner here for Chugiak. Groves trying to send him home.
1-1. That's a bounding ball to Patrizi, on to second for one, on to first, not in time to turn two, so another run's going to come in. Degenhart scores, and it'll be 11-4, Chugiak-Eagle River.
Yeah, good effort on the double play, though, by Ryan Cochran and Don Patrizi. They just couldn't get it out to first base in time. The throw was a little bit low, but I don't even think that it would have mattered. Groves was just too fast in that situation. Nice effort, but unfortunately a run's going to score for Chugiak here, so things are continuing to be tough for Matsu in this one.
2 outs. Orion Medeiros has a single and a fly out. This would be the shortest inning of the game as he hits that one into right field. Not deep, actually on the infield, and Patrizi calls for it, and he's got it for the third out of the inning. Just one run comes in to score for Chugiak, which at this point in the game is a win for Matsu. They trail at 11-4 as we head to the fifth. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. To the action at Lee Jordan Field, top of the fifth, with the top of the order due up for Matsu. Drake Kerr, Don Patrizi, Kyle McCausland ready to bat against Nolan Livesey, who first time through the order allowed 5 hits, 4 runs. Of course, that home run, second time through the order, was literally perfect. 9 up and 9 down. Third time begins right now with Drake Kerr, who started this game off with a bunt single, also has popped out to short. And he has a 1-0 count here.
Yeah, Matsu trying to win 4 consecutive games for the first time since June 21st of last year. That was at the end of a 6-game winning streak, as we see time called momentarily by the home plate umpire. But it has been a tough game today. Chugiak has just had their way offensively, and Matsu trying to keep up. Easier said than done. They've been held scoreless since the top of the first.
Bounding ball, and right into the glove of the third baseman. He's going to throw on, and that was an exceptionally difficult play that David Broughton made to cut down Drake Kerr for the first out of the fifth.
Yeah, it was good recognition by Broughton that time, and you know, you like the look of it off the bat of Kerr, but it just couldn't get into left field that time. If it had been elsewhere in the infield, I think that could have been a base hit, but just unable to get it over.
Well, if it's any consolation, the Oilers up 6-1 as that ball goes right off the chain link fence. Would have taken Dylan Simmons' head off if that chain link had not been there.
Yeah, I've had enough incidents when it comes to baseball before. I got hit by a bat once, man. I've had enough of that kind of stuff.
In the dirt, 1-1. As I was saying, 6-1 right now. The Oilers up on the Glacier Pilots. Anchorage just really having a rough go lately. And if those two results hold, then those two teams will swap places. Broughton again fielding a ground ball, throwing over to first, and again in time to cut down Patrizi.
Yeah, second straight 5-3 put out for Chugiak here. And again, it's all about where the baseball goes, and sometimes it goes right into the glove of the guy who's over at third base, but it's making Broughton and the Chugiak defense's job easy. This guy, though, could very easily change that.
McCausland 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a line out. But ready to blow at any moment, and the Miners will take any amount of momentum they can get to silence those clown horns playing in the crowd.
Yeah, you know, it's been a pretty quiet day for him, and after his 3-for-4 performance that he had a couple games ago against Chugiak, you're almost waiting for him to get that kind of momentum back. We all know he's capable of it.
1-1, swing and a miss at a high strike. He was having a quiet day yesterday until he wasn't.
I think an explosive play from a guy like him could really rejuvenate and re-inspire this Matsu offense.
1-2 is low. The Miners have not had a man reach base now in 11 straight batters. Nolan Livesey had been excellent for Chugiak early on in the season, and he's found that form once more at the expense of Matsu. Just got a piece of that one, and that crumples R.J. Rickabaugh. He took a shot in a place where it's not the most pleasant experience to take one. He's up and moving now, and I think that might have gotten him on the knee. He was looking at his knee pads there. In any event, seems to be all right.
Yeah, it's good to see. It was a pretty hard contact. You could actually hear it come off, I believe, his knee pad that time. So glad to see he's up and walking.
2-2. Off the end of the bat, that's going to be foul. McCausland on the year, only getting hotter. He's hitting .271, 5 doubles and a home run, 9 runs batted in. Now another 2-2, and that's a swing and a miss. That was high and tight, but it fooled McCausland, and that is now 4 straight 1-2-3 innings for the Chinooks. The runs have suddenly stopped coming out of the proverbial spigot at the worst possible time, and Chugiak with an 11-4 run as we're halfway home here under the Chugach Mountains. Matsu Miners baseball coming right back. Don't go anywhere. Halfway home here in Chugiak, bottom 5 with the Eagle River Chinooks up 11-4 against the Mat-Su Miners. They've got the top of their order due up, Cade Smith, Louis Zuleika, Jordan Jaffe, to dig in against Ryan Harehill.
And we've seen Cade Smith thus far in this game have really a bit of an issue against Ryan Harehill and the Mat-Su Miners as a whole. He's been one of the few batters who really hasn't been able to make solid contact with the baseball yet. He did have a walk in his first at-bat, but other than that, it's been a tough day for him.
He reached on an error back in the third and was thrown out on a fielder's choice. That ball's in the dirt, 1-1. He walked, came around to score in the first, and ended the first with a flyout, which should give you an idea of how that first inning went. Both of those at-bats, of course, against the starter, Hayden Hattenbach. Here's the 1-1. On the ground to third base. Wilcox scoops it up, throws across the diamond, and what a play there. The corners of the infield doing their part. 1 out here.
What a great job by Chase Wilcox, like you mentioned, to pick up that baseball. And you saw the body control on the throw. That's something I've seen from Wilcox all season long. He does a great job of turning his arm in a certain way that he's able to generate more power on his throws. And he did it again right there to get it to Christian Perez. What a 5-3 putout.
Louis Zuleika has 2 singles, has also reached on a fielder's choice and scored 2 runs. And he takes the ball just low of the zone. One of those runs was against Hattenbach, the other against Harehill.
Yeah, he has contributed for Chugiak every time he's come up to bat today.
That's a mile-high pop-up, twisting foul, and Logan Vaughn initially gave chase, but decided not to.
Zuleika had an RBI on a fielder's choice his last time up. He has 2 singles as well in this game. He's already scored 2 runs. This is the part of the order that Mat-Su has really got to lock in on, starting with Zuleika. They've been giving these pitchers the most issue today, so they're going to have to find a way to lock this down.
1-1, comebacker off the foot of Harehill, and it bounces right to Ryan Cochran. That was a fortuitous carom off of the pitcher's foot. He looks okay, and he'll be all the happier because that is out number 2.
Oh, thank goodness for that shoe that time. That was probably going to go in for a base hit, but like you mentioned, it caromed off the shoe of Ryan Harehill. How often have you seen that? And how about the awareness by Cochran to go after that baseball and say, hey, let's get this to first. What a wild 6-3 putout. And hey, sometimes you need some luck, and Mat-Su has been pretty unlucky at points in this game. Maybe luck's starting to turn around for Mat-Su. 2
up, 2 down for the first time in this game. Jordan Jaffe has also got a pair of singles and a strikeout, awaiting the first offering from the righty Cornhusker. And it'll be low and away. I mentioned earlier in the game that there was no rain on the horizon. I have to check that because now, quite literally, there is some. And the mountain off to the right side of the field, you might be able to see just the corner of it on the camera feed. There's some pretty heavy rain on the other side of the Talkeetna Mountains. Or excuse me, the Chugach Mountains are the ones that you are looking at in the camera feed. Because of the way the weather works in and outside of the valley, unlikely that the rain will come over here, but still interesting that you can see those big pockets of weather all the way out there in the valley where we are not.
Yeah, I'm looking at the direction of it right now, and from my vantage point, it also looks like it's not going to make its way over here, but something to keep an eye on.
1-2 is low. Jaffe thought about going around, but chose not to, unfortunately, for the Miners.
Weather's weird out here in Alaska. I mean, you'll see rain, like you mentioned, in one part of the valley and not in the other part. You'll see it to the left and then not to the right. It's very strange. If you've never been to Alaska, you'll have to see it yourself to know what we're talking about.
And the valley especially creates some weird weather. That's golfed into center field, but it won't be trouble for Drake Kerr. He's got it. And a 1-2-3 frame for the Miners. The first time they've held the Chinooks off the scoreboard all day. And could that be the start of something? You'll just have to see around and find out. Top of the 6th coming up. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Don't Bring Me Down by Electric Light Orchestra blaring over the speakers here at Lee Jordan Field. And there's a hope that the Mat-Su Miners will heed the instructions being sung over the loudspeakers currently. They are down at the moment by 7 runs, 11-4, but any one of these innings could be the one where they find some of that form that they showed in the first inning and, of course, in the 2 games prior to this one. It will be Christian Perez, Ryan Cochran, Brandon Durand due up in the top of the 6th against Nolan Livesey, who has absolutely flummoxed these Mat-Su Miners hitters in this second and now third time through the orders. He's set down 12 straight. And the Miners trying to end that streak, but Perez swings at 2 straight pitches, and he's on the back foot right away.
Yeah, he's made good contact both times he's been up. He already has a single, and he flew out a deep one to left his last time up, but already with an 0-2 here.
Just held up there. 1-2.
This Mat-Su team, they came into this game with 21 hits over the last 2 games, and it looked like early we were going to go in that same direction. This game's turned around, but there's a chance for it to turn around again. And for that to happen, I think the heart of the lineup, these guys like Perez, McCausland, Durand, they're going to be the key components to lifting this Mat-Su offense up, especially with how good they've been over these last few games.
2-2. Held up. Works the count full. Miners with 4 runs on 5 hits, also 3 errors. The Chinooks, 11 runs, I should say, on 9 hits, and they have not committed a mistake in the field. That is a 4-pitch walk after a quick 0-2 start. And the base runner list streak for the Miners comes to an end. A leadoff walk here in the 6th. Christian Perez aboard for the second time.
Second time that we've seen Livesey issue a walk today as well. Issued one to Riker Scow in his first at-bat. And now Perez forcing the walk here. Sometimes it only takes one opportunity. Let's see if Ryan Cochran can make good on this chance.
Cochran had a single back in the first. That pitch is low, stopped by Rickabaugh. He also grounded out. The last 2 base runners allowed by Livesey have been walks. Scow the other. Back in the second. Last hit surrendered was in the first inning, a Chase Wilcox single. Throw comes into first.
Looking at it right now, nobody's getting warmed up at the moment in the Chugiak bullpen, although there is some action going on over there.
No need to be worried. He also has not thrown a ton of pitches, so a dream scenario for Chugiak. Mat-Su's just going to have to figure him out. That's on the ground to short. Throws on to second for 1, on to first, and that'll be in time to turn the double play. So the leadoff walk is erased. Infield defense on display from Chugiak, and all of a sudden, 2 men away.
Ah, man, again, just unlucky for Mat-Su. Cochran just kind of grounded that one out, and Degenhardt saw the opportunity. Good job on the execution on the double play by Chugiak, and Mat-Su doing what they could in that situation, but when you ground it out like that, there's no stopping it.
Brandon Durand, back when this game felt very different, hit a 3-run home run. And he hits that one well out to right field this time, dropping down, and it's going to be just foul. It lands on the bullpen area for the Miners, so it'll be a loud strike 1. If it had been any closer to fair territory, I think Orion Medeiros might have been able to catch it, so Durand is happy that it didn't, but unhappy that it didn't clear the fence as it did back in the first. Durand back in the third, struck out swinging.
That one looked promising, though. It certainly was able to carry a long distance. We've talked about it before, but his power is so needed on this team, and it's been a huge asset to them all the way through. He just has a way of...
That's hit well out to left field, going back, and the fielder turns around, and that's gone again. Brandon Durand has his 2nd home run of the day, and the bright spot to end all bright spots for what is now a 6-run deficit. The Miners get on the board once more, and an 11-5 deficit, but a little bit of momentum goes back to Mat-Su.
The generator has electrified this crowd once again. Solo home run shot, almost the exact same area as well, right into those bushes over there in left center field. Absolutely crushed that baseball, and Groves could only watch that thing go over the fence. And that might be the break that Mat-Su needed.
That's a bunt laid down perfectly by Chase Wilcox, and he's not even going to have a play. I'm not sure what happened there.
I think that the catcher, Rickabaugh, had the ball collide with his helmet.
Yeah, because his face mask is now laying on the field, and I saw a bit of plastic go flying off as well, so that thing might be busted. Yeah, he throws it back. He's going to need a replacement mask
he
now.
destroyed that thing.
I have no idea what happened there because it looked like he had it in his glove, but the long and short of it is Chase Wilcox gets his second hit.
Yeah, I think he's going to need a replacement helmet here, right? Because, or I guess
you can't just play without one. Yeah, I think he just got a replacement one. So now Logan Vaughn will be at bat, I should say, with a pair of flyouts in this game. Man, it really just goes back to that double play. If Cochran had been able to reach base, that would have been another 3-run bomb, would have made the score 11-7, and this would be a completely different game. As it stands, though, it's one small step in the mountain that the Miners need to climb. 0-1 to Logan Vaughn finds the zone again.
Yeah, Vaughn has flown out to left his last 2 times. Of course, he always has that potential when it comes to getting a hit. Hasn't had as many as some of his teammates this year. He's more of a gap shot guy, but they could use that right now.
Just 1 hit on the season for the Miners. That's high and tight. He's been an excellent defensive catcher for Matsu, which is why he gets the starts that he does. Definitely a valuable member of the team, but a .033 batting average, just 1 hit across 30 at-bats. Something he's looking to change. That's on the ground, fielded by the shortstop. He'll throw across and in time to retire the side. But the Miners do get one. Brandon Durand goes yard for the second time today. He accounts for 4 of Matsu's 5 runs, and they trail by just 6 now. 11-5 the score. Bottom 6 coming right up. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Heading to the bottom of the 6th, Matsu Miners trail the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks 11-5, and it will be Nico Tomasello on in relief after Ryan Harrahill largely did his job. He went 4 innings, ate up some of those at-bats, but did allow a number of runs to score, 5 of them in fact, to increase that deficit to 11-5, and Tomasello will be on in relief to face off against Hill, Rickabaugh, and Dagenhart.
Yeah, Tomasello making yet another appearance, and his ability to limit this Chugiak offense is going to be key. We saw them absolutely light up Matsu early on in the game. They've cooled off just a little bit after that initial 9-run flurry in the first 2 innings. They've scored just 2 runs since then. And after that Brandon Durand home run, it feels like there is a path, albeit a narrow one, but a path to get back into this game. And Tomasello is going to be at the forefront of that.
1-1. This is easily the highest scoring output of the season for Chugiak-Eagle River. Elapsing their next highest total of 9. For Matsu, it is the most runs they've allowed in a game. And here's the 2-1 from Tomasello. That finds the zone.
Nico making his 4th appearance of the year for Matsu, or rather 6th appearance of the season for Matsu. He's had 5 total appearances coming into this game, a 2.35 ERA, and he's only given up 2 earned runs in 7 2/3, so not bad at all. Very good option out of the pen, but now he faces a full count.
3-2. The leadoff man has been important in this game, and that's going to be ball 4. So a leadoff walk issued by Tomasello, the third issued by the Miners in this game, and Jaden Hill is on for the third time.
Yeah, Jaden Hill has just found a way to get on base today, and that pitch was just a little bit low from Tomasello that time. I get what he was going for, trying to drop in that breaking ball, but it was a bit too far to the inside. Of course, it is still early, but he'll have to make sure to shore up that breaking ball as this game moves forward.
RJ Rickabaugh, with a pair of singles in the first 2 innings, drove in 4 runs and scored 1 more himself. Also flied out in the 4th. Throw comes into first from Tomasello. Rickabaugh, the catcher, part of the battery between him and Nolan Livesey that has been, by and large, pretty effective this game. 5 runs, of course, not a small amount, but with how the offense, which mostly this season has not been very effective for Chugiak, has exploded out of nowhere today, it's been more than enough. Throw comes into first once more.
Yeah, Rickabaugh today, already with a couple of 2 RBI singles. He accounts for 4 total RBIs for Chugiak. I'd say he may be up there as the offensive MVP for them so far.
Line shot, just foul. Umpire had to dance out of the way. 0-2 count.
And he does a good job of finding the gap. That's where Matsu has to be ready for it, because he's found a way to get it in between the either 4-3 gap or the 5-6 gap.
Rickabaugh, by and large, one of the most dangerous hitters in the ABL this year. And he's had the Miners' number so far today.
Yeah, he was in the top 5 for batting average for quite a bit of time. Has fallen out of that, but still has that capability.
Just got a piece of it there. Yeah, he's down to 143 on the season, but that'll go up after today. So he's breaking out of a cold stretch.
And it feels like a lot of hitters go through cold stretches. I mean, it's part of the game. Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're off. Rickabaugh maybe back to a higher level after this.
Bouncing ball, fielded by Patrizzi. He'll take the force out at first, and he'll get it. 1 away as Rickabaugh goes down.
Yeah, smart play by Patrizzi that time. Decided not to force the throw to second. It was already probably too late in the process. Decided to get the easy out. Smart decision to make in that point, and he'll advance Hill on to second.
Jaden Hill in the scoring position for Oliver DeGenhart. A single, a strikeout, has reached on an error, scored a pair of runs. The run he scored back in the 4th, the last one the Chinooks have scored so far, it was doubly unearned. He reached on an error and then got to second on a throwing error by Logan Vaughn. Now he takes strike 1.
Nice pitch that time by Tomasello. Able to put it in just a little bit high, higher than what we had been seeing his last few pitches, and that's a good way to start this off on Degenhart, who is a very dangerous hitter, as we've all seen time and time again.
Spiner's pitchers had been so effective coming into this game, 41 straight innings without allowing an earned run, and now they've allowed 10 of them. 11 total. A blip to end all blips. That's a comebacker off the mound. Diving stop by Patrizzi, and he throws down to third off the bag, and caught in a rundown now is Jaden Hill. What a play by Dom Patrizzi to get that out. Down to second goes Oliver DeGenhart on defensive indifference, but that was amazing heads-up defense by Dom Patrizzi. He dove into shallow left field, got the ball in his glove, saw that Jaden Hill had overrun third base, wasn't paying attention, and was able to make him pay. 2 away.
Yeah, that was incredible recognition by Patrizzi. At first, I was wondering why he was throwing on to third base. It was pretty clear, at least at first, that Hill was going to be able to make it, but then I understood what he was doing. Hill was actually going for home plate, and the great awareness as well by the third baseman Wilcox and the catcher Vaughn to coalesce on that and get that out. That is absolutely huge for Matsu.
First pitch comes in and drills David Broughton. That sounded very painful. Went off his knee, or excuse me, his elbow pad. That is why they have pads there. He's just stretching it out as he walks down to first.
Yeah, that absolutely drilled him. We've said that before, but there is no hyperbole that time. That was really hard for David Broughton. Glad to see that he's walking around, obviously in some pain, but able to walk under his own power, and that is great for Chugiak.
So Degenhart at second. He reached on the single and then got to second on defensive indifference, and now David Broughton joins him with a hit by pitch, the second issued by these Miners pitchers, with Brady Groves, one of just 2 members of this lineup who has failed to reach base multiple times. He's got a single, a flyout, and a strikeout in this game. 2 away in the bottom of the 6th, and he takes a strikeout, or a strike, I should say.
He has struck out once in this game, reached last time in his at-bat on a fielder's choice, but hasn't managed to hit yet today. This has been the part of the order that has been a little bit less so than some of the higher parts of the order.
On the ground, Patrizzi throws on to second, and just in time to get the out. So the Chinooks will strand a pair. They will fail to score for the second straight inning, and the Miners succeed in keeping that deficit at 6. We're heading to the 7th right after this. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. On to the 7th here at Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska, under a beautiful sunny summer day. Not as beautiful of a game so far. Chugiak-Eagle River up by a score of 11-5, but the Miners got a little bit of a spark last inning in the form of Brandon Durand's second home run of the game, and now they'll try to keep that momentum going against a new pitcher. Nolan Livesey's day is done. 7 hits, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, and 5 runs allowed. Not a great line by any standard, but when his offense is playing so well, didn't really matter. On to relieve him, Peyton Neiman.
Peyton Neiman, the Gallatin, Tennessee native, folks. That is not too far from where I live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Played out of Station Camp High School this past season. He had 3 innings pitched versus Alcorn State in the collegiate ranks back on April 26th and 3 strikeouts versus Alabama A&M on February 16th. He's a guy who made quite a name for himself in Tennessee and now has brought his talents to Alaska. By the way, this is his 2nd season in a row with Chugiak, so he's been a pretty big stalwart here for Chugiak over the last 2 years, but now he contends with the Mat-Su Miners batters here in 2024.
Scow, Kerr, and Patrizzi due up. 9-1-2. And Riker Scow looks at a ball. Neiman so far this season has he's appeared 6 times and has not been particularly effective. In 10 1/3 innings, he has allowed 10 runs, 8 of them earned, for a 6.97 ERA. Has allowed 3 doubles, just 3 strikeouts and 8 walks. So the Miners definitely licking their chops at a chance to get back into this game against him. Cut and a miss by Scow. Count goes to 2-1.
And that's the big question, right? How will Chugiak adapt after Nolan Livesey has to go out of the game? Will their pitching still be at the same level with Neiman, and can Mat-Su use that to their advantage?
3 balls and 1 strike. Scow, I should say, out in front here, with Drake Kerr on deck. The Miners have managed 7 hits in this game, 5 runs, and that's going to be ball 4. The 2nd straight leadoff walk issued by a Chugiak pitcher. Last inning that led to a home run. We'll see where it takes the Miners here.
Great work by Riker that time to force the walk, and a good job not to swing on that inside pitch. Recognized where it was going, and that's what makes him so good in this situation. He's already forced 2 walks in this game, and that is now 9 total on the season.
Drake Kerr has a single, a pop out, and a ground out. Scored a run in the 1st. after some excellent effort and base running. That skips in the dirt, stopped by Rickabaugh, and he charges on to keep Scow at first.
Yeah, Riker thought about going that time, but he saw that Rickabaugh had that baseball in a hurry, decided to quickly make his way back, and that was a smart choice.
1-0 the count. Neiman not throwing many strikes so far, and he misses again there. Rickabaugh has to dive to get it. He's thrown 7 pitches, only 1 strike, and that will prompt a mound conference.
Yeah, obviously Neiman having issues finding the zone early on. We've seen the ball go a little bit outside and a little low. I'm sure that's what they want to clarify right now. And you see one of the pitching coaches for Chugiak also talking this over, trying to make sure that Neiman is in the right frame of mind here and understands the situation, trying to make sure everything and everyone is on the same page.
2-0 the count on Drake Kerr, who's not somebody you want to give a free pass to. If you're Chugiak anyway.
Yes.
Miners fans certainly hoping he gets a chance to run the base paths once more. In the first inning, he got a bunt single, stole second, got to third on a pass ball, and that allowed a Dom Patrizi fly out to score him. Throw comes in to first from Rickabaugh, but no dice. That was a strike, though. So 2-1 the count.
And again, like you mentioned, he's about the last guy you want to have on base in this situation. Scow as well, both of them incredible when it comes to stolen bases. They were once top 2 in the ABL in that category.
Popped him up into shallow left. Shortstop Dagenhart makes the grab, and that'll be the first out of the inning, not giving Scow a chance to advance.
Yeah, that was a solid-looking shot. I thought it had a chance to be a bloop single for just a second, but Dagenhart had no issue backpedaling and making the catch. Good contact once again, just not quite in the exact spot that it needed to be. And now comes Dom Patrizi, who is still looking for his first hit of the day.
One away for Dom with a pair of flyouts and a ground out. He does have an RBI in this game, but has yet to reach base himself, and he takes strike 1. The newest, or I should say the oldest of the 2 Lehigh Mountain Hawks on this team. Another ball skips in the dirt, and that time it will give Scow a ride to second base. He was running already, and by the time Rickabaugh located the ball, it was far too late. Second steal of the game for Scow, and another man in scoring position for Matsu.
Great work by Riker Scow, like you mentioned, to recognize the situation, and he's like Drake Curry, has no hesitation when it comes to stolen base opportunities. Took the chance there, got his way on to second. And now Matsu with a runner in scoring position.
1-1. Another one skips in the dirt well shy of home plate. Stealing third on a pitch like that, much taller of an ask than second, considering the ball is almost always going to bounce into the field of play. But if Rickabaugh lets one of these get past him, Scow could be on to third base. Patrizi, 3-1.
Good work by Dom Patrizi here, being very patient, very disciplined on this plate appearance, not trying to force it. I think that's the biggest thing that Matsu has to do. Don't force the opportunities. Let them come naturally. You don't have to be a hero yet. It's not time for that here in this game. Chip away at this lead. There is still time to score, and it starts here.
3-1 count, and that is, again, well shy of home plate. So Neiman having some serious issues with even getting the ball into the mitt of the catcher, let alone finding his spots. That'll be his second walk of the inning, and Kyle McCausland comes to the plate with a pair of runners on base. He's 0 for 3, but he was 0 for 3 before the home run last night, so this is a terrifying proposition if you're Chugiak. All the Miners fans on the broadcast, 55 of you, are happy to have you. Now is a critical juncture in this game. Pitch 1 comes in, and that's just low.
Yeah, McCausland has had a tough day so far. He struck out twice swinging. We know he likes to be aggressive at the plate. He's going to swing for it all right here. And maybe this time will be the charm. Give Matsu a chance to come back into this game.
1-0. Cut and a miss. He was going for something big there. A lot of fans in the crowd did not appreciate the first pitch of this at-bat being called a ball. Even the scoreboard operator originally had it in the strike column. It's all evened out now. 1-1 for McCausland, one away, a pair of runners on base. The Miners trailing the Chinooks by 6.
Neiman going back to that breaking ball.
And again, it's low. Scow off base by a lot, and he has to dive back in. Rickabaugh doing his best to hang around. I suppose if you had to choose between the ball being short of the plate or way over your head, you would pick the former because it at least gives you a chance to stop it. But still not ideal.
Yeah, and as a catcher, you've got to be on point to make sure that it doesn't get past you. For Matsu, that's a chance to capitalize.
2-1 lined into left field, just foul. Kyle McCausland shaking his head. He wants that one back. Just a few feet to the left of the line. Would have played it a pair. 2-2.
Yeah, it was heading towards that left field corner like you mentioned. I thought for a second that it was going to stay in, but Kyle's going to have to replicate that right here.
Critical juncture for both teams here. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Neiman. Into left field, that's down for a base hit. Rounding third and stopping there will be Scow. That will load the bases with 1 away. And Christian Perez now gets to be the man to potentially make a huge dent in this Chinooks lead. Kyle McCausland comes through with his first hit. It's not a 3-run bomb, but it is an inning extender. And it gets some claps from head coach Ty LeBrun. Some approval from us, and gives Christian Perez a big spotlight.
Well, I said earlier that it was going to have to be the guys like McCausland, Perez, and Durand who made a difference late in this game, and McCausland showing his stuff early. This heart of the lineup is going to be so crucial for Matsu with how effective they've been this season. They've been the most consistent when it comes to generating hits and opportunities, and they're going to have to do it again here in the 7th.
First pitch is in for a strike. Perez has walked, singled, and flied out in this game. 2 of those, actually all of those, would probably score a run at this point because there are fewer than 2 outs. You can hear the large contingent of Miners fans in attendance here at Lee Jordan Field, clapping along with every pitch. 1-1 coming. Cut and a miss, and comes up empty.
You see Neiman working a little bit slower right here, trying to make sure to avoid a mistake. Don't rush himself. That's the biggest thing that he's trying to do in this spot.
He's been showing some real signs of wildness early on in this game. Miners would love a pass ball or a wild pitch right about now, or something like that. A hit into right field for a base hit. That'll score 1. Holding up at third there is Patrizzi. He's not going to test the right arm of Ariah Medeiros, but the Miners get on the board, and now a tantalizing situation once more because there is still only 1 out. The bases are still loaded, and Ryan Cochran, how about a chance to endear yourself to your teammates right away?
How about that right field shot by Christian Perez that time? You talked about it. His ability to get hits into the gap is so crucial, and he absolutely put that one down in the perfect spot. Matsu had been making solid contact all game. It was just the placement of the baseball. Maybe now that fortune is starting to turn.
That pitch is just low. Cochran had a single in the first. Got a ride home on that Durand homer. Has also grounded out twice, once into a double play last inning. But he can atone for all of that here. 1-0. Chop foul. Patrizzi at third, McCausland at second, Perez at first. And if the inning could get to the man on deck, Lord knows what could happen.
Goodness gracious, if it gets to Brandon Durand, this is going to get insane.
1-1. Neiman misses high.
And Durand doesn't even need a home run in that situation, although it certainly would be welcomed. You just got to find a way to keep the at-bats alive and to keep this inning alive. Give Matsu even more momentum, maybe a strong double.
Cochran gets plunked, and that will score his Lehigh teammate. Dom Patrizzi gets a free ride home, and another run on the board, 11-7 now. 7 runs for the Miners in the 7th inning, and Brandon Durand at the plate.
Yeah, and that keeps the bases loaded for Matsu as well, and it looks like Chugiak and head coach Timothy Cole is maybe seen enough for right now. He's taking a look at the bullpen. I don't think he's going to make a pitching change yet, but I'm sure he is certainly keeping his options open.
Only 1 out.
And he is going to make a pitching change.
Yep, they're going to call in a reliever from the bullpen, an emergency change of pitchers here. Peyton Neiman gets just 1 out, allows 2 hits, a walk, a hit by pitch, 2 walks actually, and 2 runs. Leaves with 3 more that could get charged to him if the newest pitcher for the Chinooks gives up a solid piece of hitting, and that pitcher will be, I believe that is number 24, Aiden Collins.
Looks like Aiden Collins from our first glance at it. And if so, that's going to be a southpaw that Mat-Su will have to contend with. Not the first one they've seen today. Nolan Livesey was also a left-handed pitcher and had a lot of success against Mat-Su. And that is Aiden Collins, the freshman out of Evansville, Indiana. Quincy University, played at North Posey High School. Didn't pitch any for Quincy this year, but he is a 2-time Class 2A sectional champion, and multiple times he's been first-team all-conference. Favorite athlete, Jose Altuve.
Well, so far this season, he has made 5 appearances, 6 2/3 innings, has allowed 3 earned runs, walked 5, struck out 4, allowed a pair of doubles, and overall a 3.18 ERA.
Remember, the bases are loaded in this situation for Mat-Su, so the biggest thing right now is trying to get runs. You don't have to score all these runs, although it definitely would be nice. Again, it's all about chipping away at that lead and making Chugiak sweat, so even a sacrifice fly would be beneficial in this spot. The biggest thing right now, you've got to avoid groundouts. You cannot have a groundout at all cost.
Dylan, Brandon Durand is the tying run right now, and he has hit 2 home runs in this game.
There was one option that I didn't consider, and that is the massive home run. And if he got a grand slam and tied this game, oh my gracious.
The Miners up to 9 hits, 7 runs. Their counterparts, the Chinooks, 11 runs on 10 hits.
Here's the thing about Brandon. We know that he's probably not going to deliver a ground out. If he's going to do anything, it's probably going to be either a strikeout, a flyout, or probably a home run.
You're exactly right. There's a perfect guy to have up here. Obviously, a strikeout, not ideal, but a flyout or a hit, both would be productive. One much more than the other, of course, but anything that leaves the infield with the speedy Kyle McCausland at third should be able to score.
All right, Brandon, channel your inner David Ortiz right here and get a game-tying grand slam.
The Miners trailed this game 11-4. They have gotten the deficit back to 4, and strike 1 fired in by Aiden Collins.
You notice the sidearm pitch that he's got as well. From a lefty, that's going to make it all the more tough for Mat-Su.
They do have a lefty on deck in Chase Wilcox. So again, as long as there isn't a double play, he will bat. 0-1, another big cut on a looping curve. Quick 2 strikes.
And we knew he was going to be aggressive, and he's definitely showing that early on, but already an 0-2 count.
Durand has homered twice in this game, but also struck out swinging. As you talk about, 3 true outcomes machine. The generator looking for one more gear before he short circuits. 0-2 inside, and that got Rickabaugh. He took a shot right on the edge of his padding, but momentarily stunned by that, but he's all right. And now he's going to talk things over with Collins.
Yeah, probably trying to make sure that the signals are communicated clearly between those two. And, of course, whenever you've got a new pitcher in, it's always good to take a moment and get all that sorted out. For Brandon, though, it has been an exceptional day, probably his best day batting of the season. But we need one more cherry on top.
1-2. Runners at every base, 1 away in the top of the 7th. Collins. Cut and a miss. He got him. Brandon Durand goes down. He's got 2 home runs and 2 strikeouts. And that is a back-breaking second out. It'll be up to Chase Wilcox to make one final dent and avoid leaving the bases loaded here in the 7th.
Well, we knew that Brandon was going to be aggressive in that at-bat, and he absolutely was. Fortunately, sometimes you live and die by that, and this time it got Mat-Su in the worst way. But still an opportunity for Chase Wilcox. But he's going to have to deliver at least a single here.
And he's done that twice already today. Pitch 1 is low and away. Also a pop-out for the third baseman, Wilcox.
Collins making his 5th appearance of the year. He has 5 2/3 innings coming into this game. 3.18 ERA. He's given up 2 earned runs.
Any runs he allows here, unless Wilcox takes him deep, will not be charged to him. 1-0, and again, low and away. Wilcox with 10 runs batted in this game and can get a lot more. And now he's something going on. Yeah, the
PA mic
was left on. I thought Wilcox was looking at me for a second, but he was looking at the booth to our left. So a momentary stoppage in play. That is now resolved.
Well, if you can hear this, Chase, you got it.
2-0, right down the middle. It's a bit of a more anxious-sounding clown horn honk than I've heard throughout the game so far.
Well, I can guarantee you that both fan bases right now are on the edge of their seats watching this go down. It's a tense feeling here at Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak.
2-1, cut and a miss. Logan Vaughn on deck. The Miners have left a lot of runners in scoring position over the course of this season. They have left the bases loaded a few times.
So far, so good for Collins in his first time taking on the Miners from the mound. Chase Wilcox, known for his gap shots. He's going to need another one right here.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. 2-2 pitch on the way. The lefty fires and just got a piece of it.
And that's good, able to keep the at-bat alive. And if Wilcox can get a few more of those, that'll only help him. Also can consider the opportunity at a walk as well, which you know Wilcox is capable of. But with 2-2, it's still very far away from that.
Comebacker fielded by Collins. He stuck his glove up there, throws underhand, and gets the third out of the inning. Just a massive turn of events for the Miners. If that had been a little bit higher up, gone off the glove of Collins, who knows what might have happened. But instead, the Miners will leave him loaded. They tack on a couple. They trailed now just 11-7. But oh, what could have been. For the rest of the game, they will keep that momentum rolling, we hope. And you'll have to stick around and find out. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. On the other side of the 7th inning stretch, just had a very talented rendition of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And now Nico Tomasello gets back to work, his 2nd inning, and he starts off Orion Medeiros with a ball. It'll be Medeiros, Smith, and Zalaika as he tries to keep the Chinooks off the scoreboard for the 3rd straight inning, cutting a miss on a high fastball, and give the Miners a chance to mount another inning like the one we just saw. 2 more like that would do the trick, at least to tie the game. But before that, Tomasello and the pitching staff has to keep their end of the bargain going.
I think Mat-Su can see there is definitely an opportunity here. That should give you all the motivation you need defensively and from the mound to get back into this game. This thing is not over.
Another high fastball swung at and missed. I think if Medeiros had not swung at any of those pitches, that would have been a 4-pitch walk, but Tomasello thankful that he did. And now here's the 2-2, and he struck him out on another one. That one almost hit him, but he swung at 3 pitches right in front of his face, and Tomasello will take it, his first K, and Medeiros goes down.
Yeah, he had a conversation with Cade Smith as well before he made his way back to the dugout. Perhaps the direction of Tomasello's pitches probably fooled him that time. It kind of breaks late. That's the way that Tomasello's pitches go, and it's just enough to fool the batter into thinking you need to swing at it. Of course, sometimes you can just put it right down the middle like that.
Nico working quickly and drops the first pitch strike down the middle to Cade Smith. And another one, same spot. All of a sudden, Tomasello finding the form that these Miners pitchers had showed for so long. Smith has walked, reached on an error, and grounded out, and add a strikeout to that list. 2 straight Ks for Tomasello. 2 away.
Yeah, what a job by Nico on that at-bat as well. You saw on the last one with Medeiros how he went high and inside. This time he kind of centers it up just a little bit with a few breaking balls, and he's able to take care of Cade Smith in just 3 pitches. What an adjustment by Tomasello. Exactly what Matsu is looking for, but here comes Louis Zalaika.
2 singles, fielder's choice, and a ground out in this game. And he'll take one in for a strike. That was high and went off the face mask of Vaughn, but the umpire still made the correct call. Zalaika, last man standing between the Chinooks and a 3rd straight scoreless frame after they scored in 4 straight innings to start the game. And here we go again for Nico Tomasello.
Yeah, it's that same pitch over and over, and hey, Chugiak has not been able to do anything with it yet, so if it ain't broke, why fix it? And Tomasello is taking that philosophy to heart.
0-2. That's a rocket on the ground. Cochran to Perez. And that's a 1-2-3 inning. Just what the Miners needed after leaving them loaded. Some solace from the pitching staff, and they'll try and get the rest of the way there to miraculously come back and win this game. If it does happen, though, it'll be Dylan Simmons' voice narrating it. The 8th and 9th will belong to him, so stay tuned. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call, and welcome to the top half of the 8th in what has been a dramatic game so far. The Chinooks up 11-7 on your Matsu Miners. Logan Vaughn making his way to the plate. 8-9-1 to lead off for Matsu as they attempt a 7-run comeback. This pitch goes to the outside. It's ball 1.
It'll be Collins again. He pitched the final 2/3 of the last inning and did a Houdini job, a strikeout and a ground out to get out of a bases-loaded 1-out jam.
Vaughn will pop one up right side. It'll land somewhere in the infield, and the catch will be made by Louis Zalaika. So 1 down here in the top of the 8th.
Vaughn's struggles with the bat continue. As I mentioned, coming into this game, he was 0-33 with the bat. It's interesting, he was not exactly a bad hitter in college with Texas A&M Corpus Christi. He hit 10 home runs, but he, for whatever reason, has really struggled to string together some offense. He's done his job at the catcher position defensively in this game, as he always does, but Miners really hoping they can get some from his bat soon.
As Riker Scow makes his way to the plate, wouldn't be shocked if Matsu may start using pinch hitters as this game moves forward. And there's strike 2. Quickly 0-2 on Scow.
He started it all an inning ago, drawing a leadoff walk and later coming around to score.
0-2 count. Here's the pitch. It's high for ball 1 from Collins that time. Riker Scow has forced 2 walks in this game already, trying to force his 10th walk of the year right now against Chugiak.
Drake Kerr on deck, who is 1 for 4, but still always a danger.
That goes outside for ball 2, so Scow has worked it to a 2-2 count. He's a very hard guy to strike out. He takes his time, understands the situation, and he has a keen eye to see where the baseball is going to land in relation to the zone. The 2-2, ball 3.
One more hit for the Miners, and they will equal the Chinooks in the hit column, 10-10. They currently have 9, but they trail by 4. Those 3 errors definitely have a little bit to do with it.
A big payoff pitch, and that's ball 4. Riker Scow forces his 3rd walk of the game. That is double digits now for him on the season. His 10th forced, and he's on to first.
You know, that's just going to go into the box score as another walk. Of course, he's drawn 3, which is impressive in its own right, but that was one of the most impressive walks I have seen all season by a Mat-Su Miners batter. Those first 2 pitches, he looked totally overmatched. A swing and a miss, and looking at one right down the middle, but he dug in and wasn't afraid, and he ended up winning the war.
And now we'll see what Drake Kerr can do as the count goes to 1-0. Maybe took something away from Riker Scow's at-bat. He does have 1 bunt single in this game, but he's popped out to short a couple times and grounded out to third once. 5th time around in the order for Mat-Su. That's a swing and a miss. Count goes to 1-1.
He was looking for a shot down the left field line with that swing. And Riker Scow can run, so who knows what might have happened.
Yeah.
A lot of who knows in this game.
There certainly is quite a bit of that. A lot of unanswered questions. There's a throw to first. That was an interesting motion by the pitcher, Collins.
I think balk is the word you were looking for, because he was stepping toward home and then turned at the last second.
Exactly. That
You're not allowed to do that.
Looked like a balk to me. Of course, we're biased, but count is 1-1. Pitch from Collins is outside. Ball 2. Drake Kerr, the most stolen bases in the Alaska Baseball League, the best bunter in the Alaska Baseball League, best when it comes to getting hits on the team. He's got a chance at number 20 on the year right here. He'd be the first Miner to get to that point. He lets that one go by for ball 3 instead. He may force another walk.
Look for Scow to be running here. He's stolen 2 bases already, and in a situation like this, you want as many runners in scoring position as you can, unless in case Drake Kerr isn't able to coax this walk.
Ball 3 with 1 strike, and that's ball 4. Drake Kerr on to first. Back-to-back walks issued by Aiden Collins. Mat-Su with 2 aboard, and an all-important runner in scoring position in Riker Scow, and 2 of the best base stealers in the entire Alaska Baseball League.
So the Miners now have drawn 5 walks in this game, 2 each from Livesey and Collins and 1 from Neiman. It has been a strength of theirs all game long, and they've got the innings to Patrizi, who drew a walk in his own right back in the 7th, later came around to score on a hit by pitch. And past him, Kyle McCausland, who got a clutch single in that inning as well. So this part of the order had a rough start to the game, but has been better as the evening has gone along. This is going to be one of the longer games we've called with all the scoring, but we are enjoying every last minute.
It has been a sensational game. Pitch to Patrizi is in the zone. Count goes to 0-1. This time, able to work the corner is Aiden Collins. Dom so far has forced a walk and does have an RBI in this game, but he does not have that first hit yet. Remember, he leads the Alaska Baseball League in RBIs with 14. 0-1 count. And the pitch. Patrizi will line that one right to the first baseman, and that's going to be out number 2, but
that's a double play.
That's a double play, right, exactly. So that's going to do it for the top half of the 8th, and we're on to the bottom half, a crushing double play to end things for Mat-Su. And now the Chinooks looking for some insurance in the bottom half of this inning. We'll be right back. You're watching Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call here at Lee Jordan Field on a Tuesday night. It's a great Tuesday night for baseball action, but it's been a tough one for Mat-Su throughout the course of this game, trying to inch their way back into it. Nico Tomasello still on the mound, fires in a pitch high and tight for ball one on Jordan Jaffe.
Yeah, the pitching has found a little bit more of its form over the last few innings.
Fly ball out to center. Drake Kerr is not even going to have to move much to make the catch, and that'll be out one.
Since that fourth inning, they have not allowed a run. Only one hit in that span as well. But the damage was so great in the early part of the game that barring a miraculous comeback in the top of the ninth, it may not matter.
The offense has been exceptional in this game on both sides. 18 total runs, 19 combined hits. This one chopped foul to the right of the first base bag by Hill. Count goes to 0-1. He has an RBI single in this game and has reached base 3 times. Once on a hit by pitch and once on a walk as well as the RBI. His pitch is high and outside for ball one.
He scored 2 runs and he was thrown out at home trying to score a third on that great Dom Patrizzi put out.
One of the plays that's keeping Mat-Su alive right now. And there's a swing and a miss, and we see Hill drop all the way to a knee as the count goes to 1-2.
Yeah, whenever that happens, you know you've misjudged a bit. You never see someone drop to a knee and hit the ball.
It's almost like an ankle breaker in basketball, as that's a chopper right side, and that'll be out number 2. Great work by Tomasello and Perez, working in tandem and taking care of Jaden Hill.
So this is what you want here, a quick inning. There is not any activity in the Chinooks bullpen, so if you can get Rickabaugh out here, it will give Aiden Collins not a ton of rest. You had him on the ropes last inning. Could you maybe get a miraculous 4-run rally? Time will tell.
And by the way, you've also got probably the strongest part of your order coming up. McCausland, Perez, Cochran, and Durand will be the first 4 due up. As that pitch comes in low for ball number 1. So yeah, if you can take care of Rickabaugh quickly here, your chances to win dramatically increase. 1-1 count. Chopper right side. This should be easy. Picked up by Perez. Toss to Tomasello, and that's out 3. A 1-2-3 inning, just what the doctor ordered for Mat-Su, and they'll get one last chance in the top of the ninth to overcome this 4-run deficit. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is winning time for the Mat-Su Miners and the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks, as Magic Johnson would say, but only one can come away with a win tonight. Mat-Su down 4 runs to Chugiak here in the top of the ninth, but the good news, they've got maybe their best part of the order coming up here. Kyle McCausland, Christian Perez, and Ryan Cochran, 3-4-5 to lead off, and Brandon Durand is also waiting in the wings.
He's lurking. If the bases end up loaded, he would have a chance to make some history, but that's a long time coming from now. McCausland has a single, a pair of strikeouts, and a line out in this game. The single was the most recent at bat.
Count is 1-0. Pitch on the way, that's outside. Ball 2.
There are a lot of moments in this game where you look back on if like that had been slightly different, this game would be completely different. And one of those, I think, was the end of that last inning. Chase Wilcox.
As that comes right towards our GoPro camera. Is it still up? Yes, it is. Good to see.
And by Wilcox, I mean Don Patrizzi hits a rocket right at the first baseman. He was in a squat, so he didn't even have to pop up. If that had been even 6 inches to one side or the other, it might have gotten through for a base hit.
2-1 count becomes a 3-1 count. That pitch outside again from Collins, who has struggled with finding the zone in a few occasions tonight. He's already issued 2 walks, and he may be on the verge of issuing a leadoff one here. A 3-1. Breaking ball does find the zone this time, and the count runs full.
McCausland can coax that walk. The Miners have scored runs each time they have drawn leadoff walks in this game in each of the last 2 innings.
Here we go, payoff pitch. McCausland let it go by, and that's ball 4. Good work by Kyle McCausland. Not his most dramatic play, but he is able to bring himself on to first. A leadoff walk here in the top of the 9th, and the first piece of the puzzle is in place.
And he's doing his part for sure. It's no walk-off home run, but in baseball, you take what you can get. Christian Perez has certainly done that, and he's got a pair of singles and a walk to show for it.
Perez had an RBI single in his last at-bat. Lets this go by for ball 1. And you know, Kyle McCausland was talking to you about what he did after that incredible performance against Chugiak on Sunday. He went whitewater rafting. There's a lot of bumps in the journey on that. There's been bumps in the journey tonight. Matsu is trying to reach the ultimate destination as that's a swing and a miss, and the count goes to 1-1. What the statement is that there's still an opportunity. There's still a chance, even in the circumstances that aren't the most favorable. 1-1, Perez lets it go by, that's strike 2.
Just got the bottom corner on that. Perez is exasperated. The trumpet blares or trombone.
And that was very close for Perez. Let it go by, and one that he probably wants back. That's ball 2. Just a little bit outside that time. The same style of pitch, but Perez did a good job of making sure that one was outside the zone.
That was in the exact same spot as the last pitch, but
yeah, it was.
I digress.
It was very close. 2-2, and that's a swing and a miss. Perez cut down on strikes. And the man with the best batting average on the team will have to go back to the dugout as we will see Ryan Cochran come on. Matsu is 2 outs away from defeat.
Well, that was one of those pitches. You saw it come out of his hand, and you're like, he could crush this immediately. You saw it was going to loop right back into the zone. I think he did too, but a little bit too late. That was a really late swing on a pitch that he could have crushed. You say he's got the best batting average on the team. Ryan Cochran is hitting .667. Or actually he's hitting .333, but that's still better than Perez. He has a single pair of groundouts, has been hit by a pitch. Got an RBI for that.
0-1 count. Cochran lets it go by for ball 1. He does, in technicality, have the best batting average on the team, and he's been solid today.
In his Miners debut,
Already.
Here's another chance to endear yourself immediately.
1-1 count. Cochran with a ground ball right side, picked up by the second baseman. Throw to second in time. Throw to first is not going to be in time. That will be out number 2. No game-ending double play, but that will retire Kyle McCausland. Cochran on to first on a fielder's choice.
Well, he almost batted into a double play for the second time today, but he was able to salvage his half of that would-be twin killing. And the Miners down to their last out. Durand, Wilcox, a couple of dangerous hitters due up, but they're going to need more than that.
Durand lets it go by for a strike. His at-bats have gone as such. Home run, strikeout, home run, strikeout. So, in theory, he would be due for a home run here, but that is easier said than done. 0-1 count, ground ball up the middle. Throw to second will be in time easily, and that will do it for today's game between the Chinooks and the Miners. Chugiak with a tremendous offensive output. 9 runs in the first 2 innings, and they're able to stop a multi-home run performance by Brendan Durand and a comeback effort by the Matsu Miners. Chinooks win 11-7 here at home, and Matsu's 3-game winning streak comes to an end.
It was a valiant effort. They fell behind 11-3, or 11-4, I should say. They managed to make a game of it, and at one point even had the tying run up at the plate in Brandon Durand, but were not able to complete what would have been an incredible comeback. All things considered, I think considering how the game started, it's, I wouldn't say a promising performance for Matsu, but it was better than it could have been, better than how it looked like it might be going in the early part of this game. As you said, the winning streak comes to an end, but there are things to take away from this game that are positive.
There certainly are, and I think the biggest thing, like you were mentioning, is that they kept fighting throughout the course of the game. They didn't quit on the game. They kept looking for opportunities, and they found those at points, and although they didn't come away with the win, I think the fight they showed at the end shows this team is not going to be beaten easily, and especially throughout the course of the season, you're going to have to fight really hard to keep this team down. That is going to do it from Lee Jordan Field here in Chugiak. Chinooks win 11-7. We'll have an off day tomorrow, and we'll be back on July 4th. It's Miners versus Oilers at 4 o'clock back at Herman Brothers Field, the first of 4 consecutive home games. It's going to be a lot of fun, folks. Make sure to tune in for all of it. But as for tonight, for Charlie Fellows and our entire incredible staff here at the Matsu Miners, I am Dylan Simmons saying so long.